What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 13 et. Chapter 351 Recruiting Soldiers. Advertisement. Then recruit troops. After the number of people is enough, these two organizations can be used to attack the world government together. After making up his mind, Monk walked out of the room slowly and came to the warden. The warden also nodded towards this at this time. He didn't realize that Monk had something to say to him. Monk also walked up to the warden at this time. Then he spoke forcefully to the warden. Guardian, don't do other things first. I have something to tell you here. After hearing what Monk said, the warden also looked at Monk suspiciously. Obviously the two just separated just now, why didn't they talk about something just now, but chose to talk about it at this time? Then the warden also waited for Monk's notification. I only heard Monk speaking to the warden at this time. I want you to manage the underwater world for me first. I'm going to form an organization on the mainland and launch an attack on the world government. Advertisement. With the joint efforts of the two sides, it will definitely be easier to attack the world government. If you don't make a move, it's enough, once you make a move, you will start the thunder. Otherwise, it is bound to fail. Quote. After saying this, he also looked at the warden seriously. After hearing what Monk said, the warden nodded heavily. He wasn't going to hold Monk back. Since Meng is going to build an organization on land, it is good to support him here. Then he patted his chest, saying that he could definitely manage the underwater world well. Definitely not holding Monk back. After hearing what the warden said, Monk nodded happily. Then after exhorting a few words, he left the underwater world. Then Monk also appeared on land. On land, Monk also chose a better location. There are no people here, only one island. This secluded location fits perfectly with the conditions of its building organization. Then they also used the power of their devil fruit to build a simple house here. Advertisement. Then he began to reveal to the outside world the news that he was going to recruit troops. Zero looking for flowers. After hearing the news of Monk, a series of powerful people came here one after another, wanting to take refuge in Monk. In the past, they also heard the news of the confrontation between Monk and the world government. From their point of view, Monk was too imposing to do so. They also want to follow along in doing so. In just one day's work, many strong men gathered in front of Monk. These powerhouses also quickly came to Monk. At this time, Monk also spoke to the many strong men in front of him. The organization I created is called the Ghost Gate Gang. The original intention of the Gimmon Gang was to deal with the world government. If anyone is afraid of world government, then don't be prepared to rely on me. Quote. Because we will have trials in the future, and only after completing the trials can we join the Ghost Gate Gang. The content of this trial is to launch an attack on the world government. If you don't do this, you should leave as soon as possible, don't wait for me to drive you away. Quote. After saying this, Monk withdrew his smiling face and looked indifferently at the three strong men in front of him. Advertisement. Chapter 352 Prepared mentally. Advertisement. After hearing Monk's words, these powerhouses didn't care at all. They were mentally prepared before coming. So no one quit. Monk nodded in satisfaction after seeing that these strong men did not move. Then he spoke to these strong men. Since this is your choice, then prepare for the trial next. Those who pass the test can join the Ghost Gate Gang in 410. If it doesn't work out, leave early. Quote. Because there will be many dangerous situations in the confrontation with the world government in the future. And if you join the Ghost Gang, you can't betray. If it betrays, I will kill it myself. After saying this, he also snorted coldly. Then they waited for the replies from the strong men in front of them. These powerhouses also nodded one after another, expressing that they would definitely listen to Monk's opinion. As long as Monk can accept them and let them join the Ghost Gang, they won't say much. Advertisement. Monk also smiled slightly at this time, and then spoke. In that case, everyone, prepare for the trial. After hearing Monk's words, many powerhouses are gearing up for preparations. After they were ready, they went outside the world government under the leadership of Monk. Monk also stretched out his finger at this time, pointing to the gate of world government. Then he spoke to many strong men. See, that's world government. The next task for you is to be in my world government. After those combatants are drawn out, attack them. Only those who kill a world government fighter are eligible to join the Ghost Gang. If not, don't even think about joining the Ghost Gate. Quote. After saying this, Monk also looked at the strong men in front of him with a half smile. He is now also giving these strong men a chance to think. It is still too late to quit now. If you join the Ghost Gate Gang later, you will know a series of things in the Ghost Gate Gang. If you want to quit again, it is impossible. Advertisement. Many strong people are also you look at me, I look at yours, and they have not quit. At this moment, they are also determined to definitely join the Ghost Gate Gang. Because the harder it is to get, the more desirable it is. Since there are so many requests from the Gimmon Gang, the way of the trial is also so dangerous. Then joining it will definitely have many benefits. They don't want to miss this good opportunity. Afterwards, these powerhouses also expressed that they did not want to quit, and they would definitely help Monk. Monk also nodded in satisfaction at this time. Then he also walked forward, and then Devil Fruit's power surged, and he punched the gate of the world government. The door of the world government was also knocked suddenly. Those fighters among them also came out in full force, ready to find that blind guy. Seeing this, Monk also disappeared instantly. 1.2 When he appeared again, he also came to a huge stone, overlooking the gate of the world government. And those strong men left behind by Monk are also fighters who face the world government directly. They didn't back down either. These people are also determined to join the Ghost Gate gang. So I can only borrow the heads of these world government fighters to let them join the Ghost Gate gang. Advertisement. Chapter 353. The Great War is imminent. Advertisement. Then the battle between the two sides is imminent. The strength of these strong men who want to join the Ghost Gate gang is also extraordinary. They were not injured, and they easily took the head of a world government fighter. Then they all gathered in front of Monk. When Monk saw these people bring the harvest in front of them, Monk also nodded in satisfaction. Then he spoke to these strong men. Welcome everyone to join the Ghost Gate gang. After hearing Monk's words, these powerhouses also burst out laughing. I am happy for them to be able to join the Ghost gang. Monk also pursed his lips and smiled at this time, and then spoke. My Ghost gang is not yet strong, and I will continue to recruit 10 soldiers to buy horses. So you have no tasks to do recently. Quote. After these strong men heard Monk's words, they didn't listen to the second half of Monk's sentence. They all patted their chests there, assuring Monk. Their side will definitely help Monk recruit people. Advertisement. After hearing the words of these strong men, Monk couldn't help but froze in place. He didn't expect that these strong men actually said that they would help him recruit people. Then he also thanked the strong man in front of him. After hearing Monk's words, these powerhouses also expressed that this should be done. Then they scattered away. After watching these strong men leave, Monk also smiled wryly, feeling that his side would be so smooth. If you want to create the Gimin gang, these powerful people will come together. Even their strength is unique. On my own side, I said that there are fewer people, and they are also ready to help. This is really sleepy and came to send pillows. After thinking about it for a while, Monk shook his head, not planning to think about it anymore. Since these strong men under his hands are ready to take over this matter, then it would be inappropriate for him to think wildly here. It's better to plan other things earlier, that's better than anything else. After making up his mind, Monk also smiled slightly. Then began to plan where to start. After he thought for a while, he also made up his mind. Advertisement. I still have a good vacation here, so I don't have to think so much. Now that those strong men under their hands have made it clear, they will complete the matter of recruiting troops. Then he should take a good rest here. The most important thing now is to recruit troops. Even if it is planned, the next thing to do. At that time, it is very likely that these plans will change due to a series of factors. So, Monk is not ready to set plans too early. After making up his mind, Monk also returned to the Ghost 143 gang. Seeing the horrors of the Gimin gang, Monk also shook his head helplessly. Because the facade of the Ghost Gate gang is really too shabby. It's not like a serious organization at all. Monk must also clean up properly. In any case, it is to make the Ghost Gate gang a decent organization. Then Monk began to use his devil fruit power to build a house here. And began digging under this land. I want to dig out an underground space under the ground, so as to ensure that when something happens in the future. Advertisement. Chapter 354 Gain a glimmer of life. Advertisement. Able to hide below to gain a chance of life. After making up his mind, Monk started digging non-stop. In just a short time, the ground was also dug out a deep hole by Monk. Later, under the blessing of Monk Devil Fruit's power, it was quickly expanded by it. Next, you only need to use some soil, gravel and trees to build it up. In this way, after 3 days of busy work, the door gang has also become much more gorgeous. Afterwards, Monk also waited for the return of those strong men under his hands. It didn't matter how long Monk waited, those many strong men who joined the Ghost Gate gang before also appeared in front of Monk one after another. Monk also smiled slightly at this time, and then asked these strong men in front of him. How, have you found someone? These powerhouses also nodded in agreement. Then he brought Monk to a place. When Monk arrived here, he couldn't help but widen his eyes. He didn't expect that hundreds of strong men gathered here. And from these strong people, the powerful strength of these people can be detected. Advertisement. Then he couldn't help but look at the few strong men who joined the Ghost Gang. He didn't understand how these people found so many strong men. Then Monk also encouraged these strong men. Then let them take over on their behalf, and bring those strong people who want to join the Ghost Gate Gang to the Ghost Gate Gang first. Then let them pass the test. Then you can join the Ghost Gang. As Monk issued the order, he also began to wait for the manpower of the Ghost Gate Gang to gather. Another 10 days passed, and the Ghost Gate Gang was full. At this time, Monk is no longer recruiting new members. In his opinion, these people are enough. It is completely possible for the world government to make a move. At this time, everyone in the Ghost Gate Gang also performed their duties, and they were organized in an orderly manner by Monk. The world government side is very chaotic. At this time, the leader of the world government was also frowning and thinking. And the Marine 3 Admiral sitting next to you look at me, and I look at you. Advertisement. I don't know what suggestions can make the world government leader no longer depressed. The leader of the world government also raised his head slowly at this time, and said to Marine 3 Admiral. Do you three have anything to say? Why don't you talk to me now? Quote. Akainu raised his eyebrows slightly at this time, and then shook his head. He thought of a way, but he just didn't want to talk to the world government leader. Because in Akainu's view, the leader of the world government is a bit uncertain about his position. He actually spoke in that tone just now, as if the three of them were his subordinates. Aokiji and Kizaru were watching. Akainu didn't speak, and they kept silent. After realizing that the three of them didn't mean to speak, the leader of the world government waved his hands at Kihonshin as good, the three of them. Then he said to Marine 3 Admiral, Uncle. Quote. Backquote, since you have nothing to say, you go away. I want to think about it for myself. Quote. After the words of the head of the world government finished, Marine 3 Admiral also got up slowly and walked outside. After leaving here, the three of them also burst out laughing. I only heard that Akainu also spoke to Kizaru and Aokiji. Advertisement. Chapter 355. No one before or after. Advertisement. I didn't expect that Monk would think of such a way to test his subordinates. It is truly unprecedented. Quote. Aokiji also smiled slightly at this time, and then spoke. Who says it's not? If Monk is allowed to continue making troubles, this world government doesn't need to continue to exist at all. There are already many strong people who joined the Monk Ghost Gang. To join one is to kill a world government combatant. If this continues, the leader of the world government will become a lonely family. Following the conversation between Marine and Admiral, the smiles on the faces of the three also slowly dissipated. Because they realized that they were on the same boat as the world government leader. If Monk's side is allowed to continue, then they will have no good fruit to eat. Afterwards, Marine, Admiral and the other three also discussed, and they prepared to block the Monk's attack for the leader of the world government first. Anyway, Monk shouldn't be allowed to continue rampant. But after they waited for a long time, there was no movement from Monk's side. This made the three of them feel very uncomfortable, as if they had hit cotton with their fists. Advertisement. Time passed quickly, and after 10 days passed, Marine 3 Admiral also found the leader of the world government again. At this time, the leader of the world government is no longer so sad. Because Monk doesn't make shots on his side anymore either. After Marine 3 Admiral arrived here, the head of the world government also rushed to welcome him. It's not like last time. After the three Marine Admirals were seated, the head of the world government also sat on the chair. Then he spoke to the three of them. This time I invite the three of you to come here, just to ask you to do me a favor. I want to vigorously rectify the world government, so that those members of the world government will be replaced. Some guys who fish in troubled waters will be eliminated, so as to replace some combatants who do practical things. So that when we fight Monk again, it will give us the upper hand. After saying this, he also looked at Marine 3 Admiral with burning eyes. After thinking for a moment, Akainu Badi spoke forcefully to the leader of the world government. You can completely distribute this matter and let your subordinates do it. Advertisement. Didn't you scare Monk away last time just by virtue of their appearance? Quote. Those subordinates that Akainu mentioned were the group of combatants who appeared on the battlefields of both sides before. After hearing what Akainu said, the leader of the world government shook his head helplessly. Then he spoke. They still have a series of important things to deal with. It is inconvenient to bother them. Quote. After hearing the words of the world government leader, Akainu sighed helplessly. He wanted to shirk this matter just now. Because he knew that the leader of the world government said that this matter must be for them to handle this matter. If not, they would not have called all three of them here. After thinking of this, Akainu also looked at Aokiji and Kizaru. Then he asked the two of them. You two, what do you think? Let's have an opinion. Quote. After saying this, he also waited for the answer from the two of them. Advertisement. Chapter 356. The soul wanders beyond the sky. Advertisement. Akainu's words made Aokiji and Kizaru pay attention to Akainu. Just now, the two of them were a little bit out of their minds. After thinking for a while, the two also shook their heads. Then he said that this matter should be decided by Akainu. They don't make decisions on their own. After hearing what Aokiji and Kizaru said, Akainu also felt very helpless. Then he also raised his head and spoke to the leader of the world government. Since my two companions have no objections, then leave this matter to us. The leader of the world government was also very happy after hearing Akainu's words. Then it was clearly stated. As long as Marine 3 Admiral can handle this matter. Then he will definitely hand over the treasure house in the world government to the three people to manage. At that time, the three of them can take whatever they want, and there is no need to ask him for instructions. Akainu also nodded in satisfaction after hearing what the world government leader said. Then he spoke to the leader of the world government. Advertisement. Since this task has been handed over to the three of us, then we will not stay here. After saying this, he also stood up slowly, and reached out to Kizaru and Aokiji for a gesture. Then left here. After watching Marine 3 Admiral leave, the leader of the world government also breathed a sigh of relief. In the view of the leader of the world government, as his assistant, he should help him solve some things. And in fact, before that, he wasn't going to let Marine 3 Admiral handle this matter. He wanted to do it himself. But it is a pity that there are too many things on his side, and he can only entrust this matter to Marine 3 Admiral. Now that the task has been handed over to Marine 3 Admiral, he can do other things here. After organizing the Ghost Gate gang, Monk returned to the underwater world and found the warden. The warden was also very happy after seeing Monk. I only heard him talking to Monk at this time. Master Monk, during the time you were away, I did my best. Zero looking for flowers. Now there is no problem on the underwater world side. Advertisement. All the powerhouses are working extremely hard and are training non-stop, wanting to help you deal with the world government. Quote. Monk also smiled slightly after hearing what the warden said. Then he spoke to the warden. Yes, I am also very pleased that you can work so hard. Zero. After saying this, Monk also patted the warden on the shoulder. At this moment, the warden also suddenly remembered something. Then he also asked Monk. Master Monk, please tell me what is going on when you come back. I don't believe it, you just want to come back and check out what's going on in the underwater world. Quote. After saying this, he also looked at Monk with burning eyes, waiting for Monk's answer. After hearing what the warden said, Monk smiled slightly. Then he spoke forcefully to the warden. I can't hide it from you, I came back this time to take away some strong people. Then let it be incorporated into my ghost gang. Advertisement. Chapter 357 Too many people. Advertisement. In the underwater world, although there are many strong people, it is because there are too many people. As a result, there was constant friction among the crowd, and the number of ghost gangs was relatively small. And when I was in the past, I also set the rules for the Ghost Gate gang. Quote. If you want to join the Ghost Gate gang, you have to kill a world government fighter. Now the world government has been killed and a little angry. It is impossible for me to recruit some strong people. If once recruited, it is likely to startle the snake, making the leader of the world government track down the location of the Ghost Gang. Quote. So I'm going to bring some strong people from the underwater world to the Ghost Gate gang. One is that it can solve the problems of the underwater world. Secondly, it can also make the Ghost Gate gang more staffed. Quote. After hearing Monk's words, the warden suddenly realized. What did he think Monk was up to? It turned out to be just such a small thing. Anyway, this underwater world and the Ghost Gang are all Monk's territory. Advertisement. He can do whatever he wants. Then he spoke forcefully to Monk. Master Monk, you don't have to tell me so much. You just need to give me an order. I will definitely handle this matter extremely properly. Quote. After saying this, the warden also patted his chest. After that, he reached out his hand towards Monk as a gesture, and then turned around and left. He is now ready to follow Monk's instructions to issue this order. Then select some qualified strong men and go to the Ghost Gang to help Monk solve the problem. Soon, the warden also found Whitebeard, Zephyr and others. Then, under the puzzled eyes of several people, he spoke forcefully to several people. Master Monk came back, and also made it clear that he wants to call some strong men to follow him to the Ghost Gang. So as to help him develop the Ghost Gang. Now I want to select some qualified strongmen from your side, and follow Mr. Monk to the Ghost Gate Gang. I don't know what your opinion is. Advertisement. After saying this, he also looked at Whitebeard, Zephyr and others with burning eyes. After hearing what the warden said, Whitebeard, Zephyr and the others looked at each other. Zero. I only heard that Whitebeard also smiled slightly at this time. Then he spoke to the warden. Since Monk has spoken, we will definitely settle this matter. You just have to wait. Quote. After saying this, he also waved his hand, and then called the strong men under him to the front. Then the warden brought the news and told these strong men. Then they waited for these strong men to make a decision. Monk's name is very useful in the eyes of these powerful people. When they heard that Monk was going to recruit people, they were in a hurry and began to vote by show of hands. 5.6 also clearly shows that you must join Monk's Ghost Gang. Whitebeard also smiled in relief after seeing those strong players signing up enthusiastically. He doesn't think it's a bad behavior for these men to go to the Ghost Gang. I have to say that Whitebeard is indeed very open-minded. If you are like that kind of narrow-minded leader, you will definitely be very tired of this kind of decision. Advertisement. Chapter 358 Make Monk look down on you. Advertisement. Now that they have taken those strong men under their command, they won't spit them out. But Whitebeard doesn't think so. In his opinion, since he has already surrendered to Monk, then these strong men under him are Monk's subordinates. It doesn't matter where they go, they just need to follow Monk and work for Monk. And Zephyr and Garp and others saw that Whitebeard had made a decision. They also hurriedly started to act. Since they are a big force under Monk, they shouldn't be too far behind Whitebeard. If that's the case, Monk will look down on him. This is not what they want to see. As everyone planned this matter together, this matter was almost done. Monk 10 also met the warden after waiting for an hour. The warden was also grinning at this time. Then he spoke forcefully to Monk. Master Monk, don't worry, I have already settled this matter. Garp and Whitebeard were extremely willing to help, and they also gathered their men in front of them. Advertisement. Then let those people start making decisions. Then there were 500 people who were ready to join the Ghost Gate Gang. After hearing what the warden said, Monk nodded in satisfaction. Then he spoke to the warden. In that case, you bring them to me. I set off immediately to bring them to the Ghost Gate Gang, to let them get acquainted with the rules and conditions of the Ghost Gate Gang. After hearing Monk's words, the warden nodded again and again. Then he left here quickly. Then he appeared in front of those strong men who had gathered and waited for Monk's orders. He only heard that at this time, he also spoke to these strong men. Master Monk made it clear, let you follow me to Master Monk. Then Master Monk will take you to the Ghost Gate gang. Quote. After hearing the words of the warden, many strong men were also very happy. Then he also followed behind the warden and rushed forward quickly. Soon, they also came to Monk again. Advertisement. Monk also smiled slightly at this time, and then spoke to these strong men. You don't need to be too excited, and you don't need to be too scared. Because the Ghost Gang and the underwater world are not much different. When you go to my place, you are just going from one place to another place with similar conditions. It's just that the Ghost Gang has more rules. Quote. After hearing Monk's words, many experts also breathed a sigh of relief. Now that Monk has said so, they are relieved. Then they also waited for Monk to give an order, so that they could go to the Ghost Gate 123 gang. Monk also smiled slightly after seeing that these strong men couldn't wait any longer. Then he also led the way ahead. Then they rushed forward with these strong men. After the warden watched Monk leave, he also returned to the underwater world. Because of Monk's strength, his speed is very fast. Those strong men who followed closely behind him also reluctantly followed. Although the distance from Monk is not too far, these strong men are already sweating from exhaustion. It seems that the next second will be exhausted and fall into the sea. Advertisement. Chapter 359. Advertisement. After seeing the state of these strong men, Monk hastily slowed down. Then he continued to move forward with these strong men. After half a day of rushing, everyone also came to the Ghost Gate gang. After waiting for the Ghost Gate gang, Monk also pointed forward. These strong men also walked forward slowly, pushed the door open and entered the Ghost Gate gang. After these strong men entered the Ghost Gang, Monk also called the old people in the Ghost Gang and asked them to talk about the rules. And to convey the essence of the Ghost Gate gang to these newcomers. And he himself left the Ghost Gate gang and wanted to go to the world government to take a look. The world government has been going through a major overhaul recently. Monk was afraid of something happening there, so Monk was ready to investigate. I'm afraid that these guys will do something wrong again. When Monk came outside the world government alone, he also saw the three people in front of him. This made Monk frown, because these three people are Marine 3 Admiral. At this time, Monk also said coldly to Marine 3 Admiral. You three guys really linger. Advertisement. After saying this, Monk also looked at Marine and Admiral indifferently. After hearing what Monk said, Marine 3 Admiral also laughed together. I only heard Aokiji speaking to Monk in a cold voice at this time. I know, you already hate me so much. But so what, you can't do us any harm. So, you'd better stay there honestly. Quote. After saying this sentence, he also burst out laughing. In his opinion, Monk is just a guy with great strength but no brains. He is not worth mentioning at all. After hearing what Aokiji said, Monk smiled coldly. Then he said to Aokiji mockingly, you still overestimate yourselves, I want to shoot you. That can also be easily shot. And it can guarantee that you will all beheaded quickly. You are so rampant here, it really makes me very unhappy. So, next, I will kill you as soon as possible, and then retreat. Quote. Advertisement. After saying this, Monk rushed forward and attacked Aokiji in front of him. Seeing this, Aokiji panicked instantly. He didn't expect that Monk would dare to do something to himself here. The reason why he dared to be so rampant with Monk was because he had made up his mind. Monk would never attack him. But unexpectedly, Monk didn't let the routine play his cards, and attacked when he said attack. Knowing that he felt helpless for a while. Then he quickly retreated to the side, trying to avoid Monk's attack. But Monk's speed is also too fast. With just one palm, it was knocked down to the ground. Aokiji also spit out a mouthful of blood suddenly at this moment. Then he hurriedly yelled loudly towards the companion next to him. What are you two waiting for? Come and support me. Akainu and Kizaru rushed out after hearing what Aokiji said. Then the two of them stood in front of Aokiji, looking at Monk with a sullen look. Monk also couldn't help sneering at this moment. Then he spoke to the two of them. Advertisement. Chapter 360. Advertisement. This guy, Aokiji, is provoking me, so it's only natural for me to attack him. If you two don't get out, I don't mind killing you both. Quote. After saying this, Monk looked indifferently at the Marine 3 Admiral in front of him. Marine 3 Admiral's expression turned gloomy when he heard Monk's words. Needless to say Aokiji, he was attacked by Monk. So he also hated Monk so much. Although Akainu and Kizaru said that their faces were very ugly. But the two of them didn't rush forward impulsively and shot at Monk. Because they know that with the combined efforts of the three of them, they are likely to fall into a disadvantage. Let alone two people, and now there is a burden to protect Aokiji. Then Akainu also 213 spoke to Monk after deliberating his words. Although Aokiji challenged you before, you wounded him. Then the grievances between us should be written off. Quote. After saying this, Akainu also brought up Aokiji, and then prepared to return to the world government with Kizaru. Advertisement. Monk also smiled coldly at this time, and then spoke to Akainu. Don't play tricks on me, you two go back and tell the head of the world government. Let's say Monk came here today and got him ready for war. Back. Next, I will launch a general attack on you. At that time, you will no longer have room for turning around like last time. Quote. After this sentence was finished, Monk also disappeared in the same place in an instant. Akainu and Kizaru also looked at each other, and then Akainu spoke to Kizaru. You take Aokiji back now and let him heal himself. I'll go talk to the head of the world government and talk to him. Quote. After Akainu finished speaking, he turned and left. In just a few minutes, he came before the leader of the world government. The leader of the world government also asked Akainu with a frown. What is your purpose here? After saying this, he also waited for Akainu's answer. After hearing the inquiry from the head of the world government, Akainu also spoke forcefully to the head of the world government. Just now Monk came and attacked Aokiji. Advertisement. After hearing Akainu's words, the leader of the world government frowned instantly. He didn't expect that Monk would appear here so boldly. This made him also feel a burst of brain anger. He thought it was Monk provoking him. Then he slapped the table suddenly, stood up, and asked Akainu. Where is this guy Monk? I'm going to fight him. After hearing the words of the leader of the world government, Akainu also spread his hands helplessly. Then he spoke to the leader of the world government. Don't look for it, he's already gone. And he also asked me to bring you a few words to prepare you for war after this. Next time he won't hold back. Quote. After hearing what Akainu said, the leader of the world government snorted coldly. Then he spoke. Just because of his trash, I'm afraid he won't succeed. I'm ready and waiting for him to come. At that time, I will definitely be able to kill him. Quote. Advertisement. Chapter 361 already known. Advertisement. After saying this, the leader of the world government also showed a sneer. Akainu also nodded slightly at this time. The purpose of his coming here is mainly to talk about this matter with the leader of the world government. Now that the leader of the world government already knows, there is no need for him to stay here any longer. Afterwards, he stood up slowly, and after bowing his hands towards the leader of the world government, he left here. After watching Akainu leave, the leader of the world government also frowned and pondered. Just now, his self-confidence was mainly for Akainu to see. In fact, he felt very guilty. Then he also frowned, and began to think. It only takes a while, and the soldiers are ready to cover the water and soil. Monk also returned to the ghost gang here. At this time, after seeing Monk's arrival, many strong members of the Gimmon gang bowed their hands and said hello to Monk. Monk also responded, and then returned to his residence. Then he began to think about what choice to make next in order to defeat the world government. Now the world government has also begun to recruit troops. Even if I founded the Gimmon gang, it would be difficult to destroy the world government. Advertisement. So Monk had to think of a perfect plan in order to be able to handle this matter well. After careful consideration for a period of time, he was also planning to ask for reinforcements. Originally, the water was still clear now, so some people were asked to stir it up during the battle to make the water muddy. Then you can gain a great advantage here. After making up his mind, Monk also began to think about who to ask for help. But before Monk was dispatched, a person who shouldn't have come here also came in front of Monk. When Monk saw the celestial dragons coming in front of him, he couldn't help raising his eyebrows. He didn't expect that the other party would dare to come here. In the past, a celestial dragons came here to make trouble. In the end, it is the price of death. And this guy is still so arrogant. Then Monk also wanted to see what happened when the celestial dragons arrived here. But before Monk could ask, the celestial dragons spoke forcefully to Monk. 0 for flowers. I want to have a fight with you. I heard that your strength is very strong, so since this is the case, let's fight between the two of us. Advertisement. If I lose, I will take refuge in you. And if I win, you will hand over the Gimmon gang to me. Quote. After saying this, he also looked at Monk in a panic, waiting for Monk's answer. Point 0. After hearing what Celestial Dragons said, Monk also frowned. Then he also spoke to Celestial Dragons. You guys are pretty greedy. That being the case, I will discuss it with you. I would like to see how strong you are to support you to say such a thing. Quote. After saying this, he also snorted coldly. After hearing what Monk said, Celestial Dragons was also very happy. Then he spoke to Monk. Since I have already come to your territory, then I will leave it to you to find a place to compete. Quote. After hearing what Celestial Dragons said, Monk also sighed. He didn't expect that this guy was actually so helpless. Advertisement. Chapter 362. Advertisement. Then he spoke to the strong man behind him. Go and find a venue for the two of us, we need to compete. After finishing these words, he also spoke forcefully to the Celestial Dragons. What are you looking at? Come with me. After hearing Monk's words, Celestial Dragons followed closely behind Monk. When the two of them came to an empty place, the people of 2 generations, 1 country, also took up a fighting posture. With a shout from a strong man from the Ghost Gate gang next to him, the two rushed forward respectively, launching a fierce attack on each other. After the two punched each other, Monk also realized that the strength of the Celestial Dragons was beyond imagination. Then Monk jumped up suddenly and opened his mouth. A flame burst out of its mouth and flew towards the Celestial Dragons. Celestial Dragons also pulled out the famous saber from their waist at this moment, and then chopped down with a single saber. This flame was also extinguished by it. Afterwards, Celestial Dragons also rushed forward quickly, holding a long knife in their hands, and their eyes were firm. Seeing this, Monk fell to the ground instantly, and then attached armament Haki to his arm. Then attack fiercely forward. Advertisement. At this time, Celestial Dragons was also afraid that Monk would break his long knife. Then he hastily attached armament Haki to the long knife. Just like that, the two attacks also collided. Monk just swayed and didn't back down. And the Celestial Dragons just took a step back. From the actions of the two, it can be seen that Celestial Dragons is slightly weaker than Monk, but the difference is not too much. If the Celestial Dragons are willing to fight, they can also take on Monk. Monk raised the corners of his mouth at this time, then jumped up suddenly and punched out. His fist also showed a strange shape, because his arms stretched out at this moment. The fist is also a long distance away, so it flies towards the Celestial Dragons. Celestial Dragons also slashed forward at this moment, muttering something. Then a whirlwind was cut out by him in front of him. This whirlwind blew on Monk's fist, which also made Monk's fist start to circle continuously like noodles. Monk was also afraid that his arm would be knotted like a rope at this time. 0. Advertisement. He also hastily withdrew his arm. Then he rushed forward and attacked the Celestial Dragons in one blow. Celestial Dragons also snorted coldly, and wiped away with a long knife from bottom to top. Want to disembowel Monk. At this moment, Monk was also resisting Celestial Dragon's attack with his body, and then when Celestial Dragons slashed at his abdomen. Grabbing the long knife, and then using a lot of force, he grabbed the long knife in his hand and threw it out. Immediately afterwards, Monk did not pursue the victory. Because the two of them were sparring at this time, there was no need for him to hurt each other. I only heard Monk speaking to Celestial Dragons at this time. Then you have to surrender immediately. In that case, I won't give it to you anymore. After saying 4.0, he smiled slightly at Celestial Dragons. Celestial Dragons also frowned at this time, and then spoke to Monk. You have the power of Devil Fruit, and I still have it. Although I am good at using knives, I can still fight without them. Quote. After saying this, Celestial Dragons turned to Monk again. Advertisement. Chapter 363A Lightning. Advertisement. I saw that at this moment, his hands were lightly pinched together. Behind Monk, a flash of lightning suddenly appeared. When the lightning hit Monk's back, it also made Monk's back scorched for a while. Monk also covered his wound, and hurriedly hid to the side. He didn't expect that the Celestial Dragons would devour Devil Fruit. Logically speaking, Celestial Dragons are not ashamed to devour Devil Fruit to gain strength. But why is this guy willing to be this alternative and devour Devil Fruit? While Monk 10 was thinking, the Celestial Dragons were constantly controlling Thunder and attacking Monk. Monk also sighed helplessly, he was not going to entangle with Celestial Dragons any longer. In his opinion, it is better to make a quick decision. I saw that he also jumped up suddenly at this time. Then the figure disappeared in a flash, appearing behind Celestial Dragons. A punch hit the back of Celestial Dragons. Celestial Dragons also spit out a mouthful of blood at this moment. Seeing this, Monk also captured it there. Then he spoke to the Celestial Dragons. Is there nothing to say now? Advertisement. I have also captured you. Then you don't have to say anything more. Trust me now. Quote. After hearing what Monk said, Celestial Dragons also sighed helplessly. He won't play tricks. Now that you have made rules with others, you should abide by them. Then he also broke away from Monk's Qingdao. Then he spoke forcefully to Monk. You don't have to worry, since I have already been defeated by you. Then in the future, I will definitely take refuge in you. Quote. After saying this, he also picked up the long knife in his hand and brought it in front of Monk. After seeing the actions of the Celestial Dragons, Monk nodded in satisfaction. This action of Celestial Dragons shows that he is willing to submit to Monk. Monk also smiled slightly, and then spoke to Celestial Dragons. Don't pay attention to that kind of politeness, since you have already said that you want to surrender to me. Then you just need to guarantee that after that, you will not betray me. I don't have too many rules here. Quote. Advertisement. After hearing what Monk said, Celestial Dragons was also very pleased. In his opinion, if Monk asks too much, he will definitely go to other places, and he will never surrender to Monk. But since Monk made it clear, there aren't many rules. Then he just surrendered. Then he patted his chest and said to Monk. Don't worry, since I've already lost. Then I will definitely surrender to you. Quote. After saying this, he also looked at Monk with a smile. Monk also nodded in satisfaction after receiving the 467 guarantee from Celestial Dragons. Then he spoke to Celestial Dragons. Since you are ready to submit to me, then follow me to the inside of my Ghost Gate gang. In the future, you will always stay in the Ghost gang. Therefore, it is also good to let you know about some matters in the Gimmon gang earlier. Quote. Then he patted Celestial Dragons on the shoulder, and then led the way. Celestial Dragons followed closely. Afterwards, the two also entered the Ghost Gate gang. After entering the Gimmon gang, Monk also began to introduce Celestial Dragons department by department, so as to make Celestial Dragons familiar. Advertisement. Chapter 364 Careful and Rigorous. Advertisement. Celestial Dragons can't help but admire, the facilities here are so complete. He didn't expect that Monk would be so powerful. The Ghost Gate gang has just been established, and it will be so meticulous and rigorous here. If he handles this matter, it will be impossible to realize it. Then he gave Monk a thumbs up. Monk also smiled slightly at this time, and then spoke to Celestial Dragons. Just now I took you to visit the department of my Ghost gang. Next, let me tell you the essence of my Ghost gang. Quote. Celestial dragons opened their eyes wide and pricked up their ears instantly after hearing Monk's words. Get ready to hear what Monk has to say. Seeing that the celestial dragons were ready, Monk spoke forcefully to the celestial dragons. The essence of our Ghost Gang is to attack the leader of the world government. My original intention of establishing the Ghost Gate Gang. It is to kill the leader of the world government and destroy the world government. If you accept this condition, then you will serve me in the Ghost Gang. And if you don't accept this condition, then you will go to Hai Shikong. Advertisement. There are also some things to deal with in the underwater world, and it is more suitable for you to go. Quote. After hearing what Monk said, celestial dragons also asked Monk. I'll ask you first, where are you going to stay? Are you staying at the Ghost Gate, or in the underwater world? After saying this, he also waited for Monk's answer. After hearing Celestial Dragon's inquiry, Monk also answered to Celestial Dragons. For now, I spend more time in the Ghost Gate Gang. Because the world government has not been wiped out, so I can't leave. Quote. After hearing what Monk said, Celestial Dragons nodded again and again. Then he said to Meng Clang forcefully. If that's the case, then I'll join the Ghost Gate Gang. At that time, if you don't stay at the Ghost Gate Gang, then I will go to other places with you. After hearing what Celestial Dragons said, Monk smiled slightly. Then he spoke to Celestial Dragons. Okay, now that you've made your decision. Then I won't stop you, you can do whatever you want. Quote. Advertisement. After saying this, Monk also gestured towards a strong man from the Ghost Gate Gang next to him. Let the other party lead the Celestial Dragons to go through the joining procedures of the Ghost Gate Gang. After the Celestial Dragons settled the matter, they returned to Monk again. Then he asked Monk, what am I going to do next? After saying this, he also looked at Monk with burning eyes. From Celestial Dragon's point of view, he has turned to Monk and joined the Ghost Gang. Then you should work for the Ghost Gate Gang. If you stay idle and do nothing, you will definitely be squeezed out by the leader Zhao. So, he is not afraid of body. But it would make him very uncomfortable. After hearing what Celestial Dragons said, Monk thought for a while. Then he spoke to Celestial Dragons. For now, the Ghost Gate Gang has not officially appeared in front of the world. Although my recruitment of members of the Ghost Gate Gang has attracted the attention of many people. But they don't know the specific situation of our Ghost Gate Gang. Advertisement. Chapter 365. Mobilize the Ghost Gate Gang. Advertisement. So I'm not going to send out the Ghost Gang when I'm not sure. Quote. And if you want to find something to do, then you might as well go to the world government leader to monitor the world government leader, which is a top priority. And he is also very important. Quote. After saying this, he also looked at Celestial Dragons seriously. Then he spoke again to Celestial Dragons. Can you accept this task? After hearing what Monk said, the leader of the world government nodded heavily. Then he spoke to Monk. Don't worry, I can still do this. Monk nodded in satisfaction when he heard the words, and then spoke to the Celestial Dragons. But if that's the case, I'll leave this task to you, 960. But when spying on the world government leader, be careful not to show your feet. The leader of the world government is very vigilant, if you let him know that someone is watching him. He's bound to hit you. Then your life is likely to be threatened. Quote. Advertisement. After hearing what Monk said, Celestial Dragons also nodded. Then he was eager to leave. After Monk saw Celestial Dragons and was not in the mood to chat with him, he sent Celestial Dragons away. The Celestial Dragons side also came to the world government side. He also intentionally or unintentionally wanted to visit the world government to get news. And the leader of the world government also sent a series of fighters to wait outside. So he also knew the news of the arrival of the Celestial Dragons immediately. But he did not act rashly. Firstly, the status of Celestial Dragons is very honorable. And the second thing is that the other party didn't do anything out of the ordinary. If he went directly to arrest the other party, there was really no reason. And on this day, Celestial Dragons had some conflicts with fighters from the world government. After accidentally killing a fighter, it also attracted a crowd of world government fighters to encircle and suppress him. And the leader of the world government is also very happy. Because he thinks this opportunity has come. Advertisement. Then they also quickly came to the Celestial Dragons. Celestial Dragons also straightened their backs after seeing the world government leader coming, and looked at the world government leader arrogantly. Then he spoke to the leader of the world government. Those of your subordinates are really unreasonable, I will teach them a lesson for you. Now take these guys away, and I won't stay here any longer. Quote. After saying this, he was about to turn around and leave. But the leader of the world government is not ready to let him go away so easily. Just listen to the leader of the world government also speaking to the Celestial Dragons at this time. You've already killed a combatant in my world government. So should you keep some compensation? If not, I can't explain to my subordinates. Quote. After finishing these words, he also walked forward slowly. Because the Celestial Dragons stopped, the leader of the world government only took 2 steps before catching up with the Celestial Dragons. At this time, Celestial Dragons also looked at the leader of the world government seriously. Then he spoke to the leader of the world government. You think I need compensation for killing those trash? Advertisement. Chapter 366. Advertisement. It seems that you guy is also a little arrogant. After saying this, he also frowned. After hearing what celestial dragons said, the leader of the world government hurriedly spoke to celestial dragons. Don't get me wrong, I didn't really ask you to pay for it. This is just a polite remark. Quote. Celestial dragons also nodded in satisfaction after hearing what the world government leader said. Then he patted the shoulder of the leader of the world government and said to the leader of the world government. Yes, you still have a little self-knowledge. Well, since I don't need compensation, then I'll leave. It's up to you to take care of the aftermath here. Quote. After saying this, the celestial dragons are allowed to leave. But at this moment, the voice of the leader of the world government also reached his ears. I'm not going to make you compensate, but I'm going to make you submit to me and work for me. So as to fill the vacancy of that combatant. Quote. After saying this, he couldn't help laughing. Advertisement. Celestial dragons also turned around again after hearing the words of the world government leader, and looked at the world government leader angrily. He has already surrendered to Monk, and it is impossible to surrender to the leader of the world government. And he also looks down on the head of the world government. The leader of the world government is nothing more than a lackey of his celestial dragons. Unexpectedly, this lackey is going to be the master, and he really doesn't know what to say. Then he said coldly to the leader of the world government. You guys are really a little arrogant, you really don't know how much you weigh. Don't apologize to me now. If not, don't blame me for bringing people to attack you. Quote. After saying this, he also looked at the leader of the world government indifferently. The leader of the world government is not ready to pretend at this moment. Now that the two of them have already torn their faces, it would be a bit hypocritical for him to pretend. Then he spoke to the celestial dragons. Don't be arrogant with me there, since I'm already in charge of the world government alone. Then you, being celestial dragons, are useless. Today I will give you two choices, surrender to me or die. Advertisement. 0 looking for flowers. Apart from these two options, there is no other choice. Quote. Celestial dragons also said in a cold voice after hearing the words of the world government leader. You only have two options on your side, but I can definitely add another option. That is to beat you back. Quote. After saying this, the celestial dragons rushed forward and launched an attack on the leader of the world government. 0. The celestial dragons also knew that they couldn't beat the many combatants of the world government leader. Although these fighters are nothing but cannon fodder in front of the strong. But if there are more cannon fodder, people will be killed. So celestial dragons at this time is also delaying time. I saw that the energy he swayed during the battle slowly spread to the distance. Everyone's eyes were on the battle and they didn't notice anything strange. This caused these energies to rush towards the location of the Ghost Gate Gang after spreading for a certain distance. This is a method of sending messages that Monk stayed in the Ghost Gang. Because this method is more impatient, and because the people from the Ghost Gate Gang have not dispatched divination yet. Advertisement. Chapter 367. Communication Method. Advertisement. So the world is not aware of this method of transmission. When Monk came back from the outside just now, he saw the strong men of the Ghost Gate Gang waiting anxiously ahead. Then he asked, what's wrong? Is something wrong? The strong man of the Gimmon Gang in front of him also hurriedly said to Monk. Master Monk, you should go to the world government to take a look. The celestial dragons were taken by the 603, by the leader of the world government. Monk also sighed helplessly after hearing the other party's words. He didn't expect that celestial dragons would go wrong at this time, which really made him feel very helpless. Then he spoke to the strong man of the Ghost Gate Gang in front of him. Just do what you have to do. Don't meddle in this matter. At this time, it is not the time for the Ghost Gang to be dispatched, so the location of the Ghost Gang should not be exposed in order to make celestial dragons. Quote. After hearing Monk's words, the strong members of the Ghost Gate Gang nodded heavily. Then he left here in a hurry and returned to the Ghost Gate Gang. Advertisement. Monk also couldn't help raising his eyebrows. Then he also got up and rushed towards the place where the world government was. Soon, he came to the outside of the world government. After he arrived here, he also let out a roar. All the people staying in the world government heard this roar. Then the leader of the world government also came out of the world government and met Monk. Monk also said coldly to the leader of the world government at this time. I heard that you have committed treason and captured the celestial dragons. Is this thing true? After saying this, Monk also looked at the leader of the world government jokingly. After hearing Monk's words, the leader of the world government also hesitated and couldn't speak. Monk also spoke again at this moment. Hasn't your world government been fed by celestial dragons? If they don't provide you with money, how can you develop? But I didn't expect that you would be willing to be a white-eyed wolf, which really surprised me. Quote. After hearing what Monk said, the leader of the world government was also furious. Advertisement. But he doesn't know how to answer Monk's words. 0. After he thought about it for a while, he also felt something was wrong. Then he said to Monk coldly. Don't you be be very sick of celestial dragons. Why did you suddenly come here today to speak for celestial dragons? Could it be that you are in cahoots with the celestial dragons? If that's the case, then you are not a good guy. After saying this sentence, the leader of the world government also burst out laughing. Monk was not annoyed when he heard what the world government leader said. He only heard that he was also speaking to the leader of the world government at this time. Don't try to talk me out of there, let the celestial dragons go now. If not, don't blame me for being rude to you. 2.3 You must have spent a lot of effort building the world government. If you don't want the world government to be in ruins again, do as I tell you. After saying this, Monk also crossed his arms, waiting for the action of the leader of the world government. After hearing Monk's words, the leader of the world government snorted coldly. Advertisement. Chapter 368 You are really arrogant. Advertisement. Then he taunted Monk. It's a bit arrogant to want to blackmail me just because you are a piece of trash. Even if I kill celestial dragons today, I won't hand him over to you. You just die of this heart. Quote. After saying this, he grinned coldly. Monk couldn't help shaking his head after hearing the words of the world government leader. Then he spoke to the leader of the world government. Since you are so obsessed with your obsession, I won't hold back from now on. After saying this, Monk also rushed forward. The leader of the world government took 2 steps back again and again at this moment. He was not going to confront Monk head on. In his view, since he has 10 subordinates, some things should be done by his subordinates. Instead of letting him, the officer, handle this matter. Following his order, world government fighters were dispatched one after another, blocking Monk's way. Monk also showed contemptuous eyes at this time. Then the killing began. Advertisement. In just a short while, these world government fighters in front of Monk also died there. Then Monk also said coldly to the leader of the world government. Stop looking around there. It will take some time for your other subordinates to reach here. You'd better let go of the celestial dragons obediently. In that case, I will spare your life. When Monk said this sentence, he was also decisive. Because Monk wasn't lying. His current idea is to capture the leader of the world government, and then break the limbs of the leader of the world government. In that case, it can be regarded as sparing his life. But he will be a cripple. And as a useless person, how could he continue to be the leader of the world government? So, Monk is also preparing to make him live in extreme pain in his later life. And the head of the world government doesn't know Monk's inner thoughts. I saw him clapping his hands lightly at this time, and slowly walked out of the 3 of them from the dark place. After Monk saw Marine 3 Admiral, he couldn't help showing a sneer. Advertisement. Then he said coldly to the 3 of them. You 3 guys are really too shameless. Last time, I spared your lives, but this time you dare to appear in front of me, aren't you afraid of death? After hearing Monk's words, Akainu laughed arrogantly twice. Then he said to Mang. Now it's really not certain who is strong and who is weak. You dared to be rampant there before you saw the result, aren't you afraid that the wind will flash your tongue? At this time, Monk is not going to talk about 777 and Marine 3 Admiral. He was going to do something to these guys. If not, many fighters from the Marine side would have come here. That's not what Monk wants to see. Monk also shot quickly at this time. With just 3 punches, Marine and Admiral all flew upside down. Seeing this, the leader of the world government cursed inwardly as a waste, and then took the initiative to meet him. After Marine 3 Admiral was repulsed by Monk, he also became angry from embarrassment. After the 3 of them also looked at each other, they joined forces with the world government leader to launch an attack on Monk. Advertisement. Chapter 369. Advertisement. Monk also didn't expect that the 4 people in front of him were so despicable, bullying the few with the more. But even if they bullied the few with more, these guys didn't take any advantage. After the 2 sides fought for a while, Monk also said coldly to the few people in front of him. Based on your 3-legged cat's skill, you'd better get out of here quickly. Release the celestial dragons earlier now, and I'll spare your lives. If I didn't know, I would probably kill you all without mercy. In that case, you will be dead. Think about it, how to make a choice. After saying this, he also punched Akainu back. Then he grabbed Kizaru with his hands, and continued to fight with the leader of the world government by pinching Kizaru's neck. Seeing this, Akainu hastily grabbed the leader of the world government. At this time, the leader of the world government couldn't help but frown. But when he saw that Aokiji was also persuading him, he could only step aside angrily. I only heard that Akainu also spoke to Monk at this time. Don't be impulsive, as long as you let Kizaru go, you can talk about anything. Advertisement. Monk also spoke to the few people in front at this time. I won't bother you anymore, let's release the celestial dragons now. Otherwise, I would have Kizaru buried with him. Quote. After saying this sentence, Monk also exerted a little force. Kizaru also began to struggle. After seeing Kizaru in such a miserable state, Akainu also turned his head away, and looked at the leader of the world government with a pleading face. The leader of the world government also sighed helplessly at this time. Although he didn't want to let the celestial dragons go, the 2 people in front of him already showed that expression. If he doesn't help, the 2 sides are likely to turn against each other. Then he nodded heavily. Akainu and Aokiji breathed a sigh of relief after seeing the head of the world government nodding. Then the 2 of them also spoke forcefully to Monk. Stop shooting at Kizaru and we'll let the celestial dragons go. Monk nodded in satisfaction after hearing Akainu's words, and then spoke. Then you hurry and bring the celestial dragons here. Advertisement. I'll let Kizaru go when the time comes. Quote. After hearing Monk's words, Akainu and Aokiji also nodded hastily. Then they hurried to the place where the celestial dragons were held. Then the celestial dragons were brought to Monk. Seeing this, Monk smiled slightly, then let go of Kizaru and kicked him flying. Then Monk came to celestial dragons in a flash, and left here with celestial dragons. Seeing Monk leaving in the distance, everyone was extremely annoyed. However, at this time, we can no longer continue to care about it. They can only wait for the next time to find Meng Dezhao Ke to settle the score. As Monk walked away, the leader of the world government also returned to the world government angrily. In his opinion, the Marine 3 admirals are too much waste. He actually dropped the chain while waiting for the opportunity. If these three can do their best, they can definitely keep Monk here. And Monk also hurriedly brought celestial dragons to the Ghost Gate Gang. Take it to the medical department of the Ghost Gang. Advertisement. Chapter 370. Advertisement. Let the strong inside here heal his injuries. After Celestial Dragon's injury improved, she also smiled shamelessly at Monk. Monk also expressed indifference at the moment. One failure doesn't mean another will fail, and he bids farewell to the Celestial Dragons and leaves. At this time, Monk was going to search for 4 emperors to see how these people behaved. Because in the next he will have a war with the world government. No other instability is allowed. And if the 4 emperors suddenly appeared to help the leader of the world government, then he would definitely lose. So Monk was going to talk to a few guys and let them not meddle in their own business. In this way, under Monk's rush, he also came to Charlotte Linlin. At this time, Charlotte 803 Linlin also frowned instantly after thinking of Monk. He didn't expect that Monk's guy would take the initiative to find him. Then she took a step back easily. Seeing this, Monk also smiled slightly. Advertisement. Looking at the opponent's actions can also show that this guy is still remembering the previous battle. It seems that I have caused some psychological shadows on her before. Then Monk also spoke forcefully to Charlotte Linlin. I came to you this time because I wanted to talk to you about my war with the world government. Beige. After hearing what Monk said, Charlotte Linlin also became confused instantly. She didn't quite understand this matter. What does this matter have to do with Monk and the world government? Then he asked Monk, isn't this a contradiction between you and the world government, and what does it have to do with me? Why did you come to talk to me about this? After saying this, she looked at Monk inquiringly, waiting for Monk's answer. Monk also thought for a while, and then spoke forcefully to Charlotte Linlin. Because I can't have other forces join me when I'm at war with the world government. If you suddenly help the world government at that time, then I will also be under a lot of pressure. So I will tell you about this matter in advance, and let you know the consequences of helping the leader of the world government. Quote. Advertisement. After saying this, Monk punched a big mountain beside him. This mountain also collapsed suddenly. Charlotte Linlin's pupils trembled slightly. Then he nodded again and said that he would never interfere in the war between Monk and the world government. After getting the answer from the other party, Monk also nodded in satisfaction. Then they got on the boat and sailed towards the distance. At this point his goal is to prepare to find Kaido. Then I got a reply from the other party's mouth, and 7 days passed like this. Monk also traveled towards the 4 emperors. And also brought his thoughts to these people. These people also already knew what Monk meant, and made it clear that they would never get involved in this matter. Monk also breathed a sigh of relief. With these guys around, it is likely to make the situation even more chaotic. Although Monk wanted to make the situation more chaotic in the past, Shachan's side is very chaotic. But if there are 4 emperors to join, the situation will be a little unstable. He can't control the whole situation anymore, so Monk has to drive these guys out of the war and not let them join. Even if you join, you should rely on yourself. Advertisement. Chapter 371. Participating in the war. Advertisement. After thinking wildly for a while, Monk returned to the underwater world again. When the warden saw Monk coming, he hurried forward to greet Monk. Monk also waved his hand at this time, and then spoke to the warden. You don't have to be so polite, I'm mainly here to see Whitebeard. See what the other person thinks. Quote. After hearing Monk's words, the warden also became confused. He didn't understand why Monk would say that without thinking. Then he brought Monk to Whitebeard with full of doubts. After seeing Monk, Whitebeard also laughed out loud. Then he stepped forward and patted Monk on the shoulder, and began to ask Monk's purpose. Monk spoke forcefully to Whitebeard, too. I'm here to talk to you this time. Next, I want to go to war with the world government. I don't know if you have any suggestions. Whitebeard also restrained his smile after hearing Monk's words. Then he frowned and began to think. Monk didn't bother him, but waited quietly. Advertisement. After waiting for a while, Whitebeard spoke forcefully to Monk. I will fight the war with the world government. But if you want to win, you must let the other 4 emperors not get involved in this matter. Because if the 3 of them join, it will inevitably turn the great situation around. Quote. Monk nodded after hearing what Whitebeard said, and then spoke. There is no need to talk about this problem, because I have already solved it. Whitebeard couldn't help being taken aback after hearing Monk's words. He didn't expect Monk to have already done this matter. Afterwards, he probably also began to restrain his emotions, and began to think about the things that should be paid attention to next. After thinking for a moment, he spoke to Monk. Actually, if you want me to say that your position in the Ghost Gate Gang is really not very good. Passing ships will see the Ghost Gang directly, and the Ghost Gang is not hidden at all. The reason why it was not discovered by the leader of the world government is because the leader of the world government did not work hard to find it. If he worked hard, then the position of the Ghost Gate Gang would definitely be exposed. 0 Looking for flowers. Advertisement. So in my opinion, you should change your base. Quote. After Monk heard what Whitebeard said, he also thought about it carefully and found that it really made sense. Then he spoke to Whitebeard. In that case, can you give me a suggestion? After saying this, he looked at Whitebeard inquiringly, waiting for Whitebeard's answer. 0. Whitebeard didn't even think about it, so he spoke to Monk. Of course I went to the Four Emperors' territory, which is very safe. And Kaido and others will not attack you. As long as you are there, they will stay there quietly, not daring to make any movement. Monk also smiled slightly when he heard the words, and then spoke. Okay, since that's the case, I'm going to handle this matter, and you guys will tell Vice Admiral and others what I said. Let them think about what to do. I don't want any more betrayal from Marine. If there is another traitor among them, I will kill all Marines ruthlessly and show no mercy. Advertisement. Chapter 372 Occupying Territory. Advertisement. Whitebeard and the Warden also nodded slightly after hearing Monk's words. Then he watched the other party leave. Monk also returned to the territory of the Four Emperors at this time, which made Kaido very angry. Monk took away a lot of gold and silver treasures before, but he dared to come this time. This time Kaido is not going to keep his hands anymore, he must kill the opponent today. But when 313 met Monk, they also found that there were densely packed strong men standing behind Monk. Then he calmed down, and put away the anger on his face. After he arrived in front of Monk, he also asked Monk with a pleasant face. Didn't you leave before? And you have already informed me of the matter, so why did you come here again? Monk also spoke to Kaido at this time. I came this time to ask you to find a place for me. Let my ghost gang members stay here. Quote. Kaido couldn't help frowning after hearing Monk's words. He didn't expect Monk to have such a request, and his base wasn't too big in the first place. Advertisement. If the territory of the Ghost Gate gang is given, then there will not be much left of his island. In that case, his Four Emperors would be somewhat worthy of the name. After seeing Kaido's uncertain face, Monk also asked Kaido. What's wrong? What's the problem? If you have anything, you can tell me, and I will find a way for you. Kaido also shuddered after hearing Monk's words. He knew Monk would never help him. Monk was only threatening him by saying this. If he wanted to say something was wrong, Monk would definitely act decisively. In that case, he would want to cry without tears. After thinking of this, he hurriedly waved his hands towards Monk. Then he stated that he would absolutely follow Monk's orders and get these things done. Monk also nodded in satisfaction at this time. Then he spoke to Kaido. If this is the case, then you should hurry up and do this matter. Advertisement. Kaido also nodded helplessly after hearing Monk's words. Then left here in a hurry. Began to follow Monk's instructions to do this. Monk also turned his head away after watching Kaido leave. He spoke to the strong men of the Ghost Gate gang behind him. Now that Kaido has been found, and Kaido has agreed to build the Ghost Gang, then you all keep an eye on him. If this guy turns his back on what he says, kill him and occupy this place. If he complies, you can also help him out after that. Quote. After hearing Monk's words, these powerful members of the Ghost Gate gang nodded their heads one after another. Then they all rushed forward to follow behind Kaido. After finishing these things, Monk also left here. There are too many things 0.7 to stay in one place all the time. And just after Monk left, Kaido also handed over the construction of the base for the Gimmon gang to his subordinates. Then they took the boat and hurriedly found the remaining Four Emperors. After the three of them got together, Kaido also spoke. This guy Monk is too crazy, he doesn't take us seriously at all. Advertisement. Chapter 373. Advertisement. If we don't retaliate against him, this guy will definitely make progress. Quote. After saying this, he also looked up at Charlotte Linlin and the red hair. After hearing what Kaido said, Charlotte Linlin nodded in agreement. Then he spoke to his companion. Yes, I totally support Kaido's words. This guy Monk is indeed a bit arrogant, he dares to come and go at us at any time. They really didn't pay attention to us. We must let him know how powerful we are. Anyway, we are also Four Emperors and we also have our own dignity. After saying this, they also looked at the red hair, wanting to hear his opinion. At this time, the red hair also smiled coldly. Then he spoke. I am with you on the united front. Since you guys are going to take action against this monk, then I will follow. Call me when it's time to act, and I'll act immediately. Quote. Advertisement. After saying this, he also waved his hands towards several people, and then he left here. Kaido was also very happy when he learned that several people were preparing to participate in this event. If he were to deal with Monk alone, he would still be a little panicked. Since there were two other companions who shot together, he was completely relieved. In his opinion, no matter how good Monk is, there are three of them. Then cooperate with the leader of the world government, and Monk must be defeated. Monk is still unaware of this, and just returned to the original location of the Ghost Gate gang. Afterwards, all the series of confidential documents here were taken away, and then returned to the underwater world again. Found Garp and he Vice Admiral and others asked him for advice. Because this time it is preparation for war. It is important to ask their opinion. If these people are not prepared to participate in the war, if they are pulled into the war, it is likely to cause dissatisfaction among these people. On the battlefield, if these people give up their picks and quit, then I will cry without tears. Now he is also taking out all his whole cards. So I can't afford to lose here. Advertisement. After Monk sent all the confidential documents to the new base of the Ghost Gang, he also handed over these confidential documents to Celestial Dragons. After Celestial Dragons received these confidential documents, they also put them where they should be placed. And after explaining to the Celestial Dragons, Monk left here. After watching Monk leave, Celestial Dragons also returned to the underground secret passage. Monk is also unaware of the discussions of the four emperors, and the four emperors are conducting internal discussions again at this time. They are also planning to find the leaders of other islands 860 after thinking twice. Then re-establish the base of four emperors. Because Kaido's island was occupied by Monk before. After that, the people on Monk's side will know in advance what Kaido wants to do. So just in case, he is also preparing to plan proportions with the red hair and Charlotte Linlin and others. I only heard Charlotte Linlin speaking forcefully at this time. Okay, let's not worry about this anymore. Next, let's set off immediately to find an island leader worthy of cooperation. Quote. After hearing what Charlotte Linlin said, Kaido and Whitebeard nodded solemnly. Advertisement. Chapter 374. Advertisement. Then they also set off together, rushing towards other islands. Just in case Kaido, here also sent a subordinate to pretend to be him. Prevent your whereabouts from being known by Monk. Then he rushed to other islands with Charlotte Linlin and the red hair. Then they also stayed on an extremely hidden island. Then the three of them also spread the news. Then began to prepare to recruit soldiers and cooperate with the leaders of other islands. The leaders of the nearby islands learned of this immediately, and then they began to dispatch to join the four emperors. The four emperors were very satisfied after learning about this matter. This shows that their prestige has not been affected. Because there are still people willing to take refuge in them. After seeing the series of powerful island leaders in front of them, the three of them nodded in satisfaction. I only heard that Kaido also spoke at this time. The leaders of these islands alone are not enough, we must find some strong people and cooperate with us. Advertisement. That way we have the confidence to work with the world government leaders. To prevent being bullied by him when cooperating with him as usual. After hearing what Kaido said, Charlotte Linlin and the red hair nodded again and again. Afterwards, they also increased their momentum and hid the news of their four emperors. But even so, the news was still conveyed to the outside world. Buggy, who is hundreds of miles away from the island pool, also learned of this. After thinking carefully for a while, he asked a subordinate next to him. I'm going to go to the four emperors, what do you think? After finishing this sentence, he also waited for the answer from his subordinates. After hearing Buggy's words, the subordinates also thought for a while, and then nodded heavily. He only heard him talking to Buggy at this time. Since you are going to seek refuge, then I won't have any other ideas on my side. Because it seems to me that your decision is absolutely correct. Quote. After saying this, he also looked at Buggy flatteringly. Advertisement. Buggy also smiled slightly at this time, feeling very happy, and then spoke. If that's the case, then you guard my island. I'll check out the four emperors and see what they think. When I understand what they think, I will come back and take you there together. Quote. After saying this, he also smiled slightly and then set off quickly. Then went to the nearby islands. After finding a ship from there, he also rushed towards the location of the four emperors. As he continued to move forward, he finally met Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others. Then he also talked to the four emperors about his intention in the future. Kaido and Zhao Li Zhao, Charlotte Linlin were also very shocked after hearing what Buggy meant. They also didn't expect that with Buggy's ability, they should have their own ideas. But this guy is actually going to come to rely on himself and others, which is interesting. Then they also welcomed Buggy, and then began to urge Buggy. Tell Buggy to bring all of his men here and join up with their side. So they shot Monk together. Advertisement. Chapter 375 Win-Win Cooperation. Advertisement. Buggy was also very happy after hearing the words of the four emperors. Then he returned to his island in a hurry. Then he ordered this matter down. Buggy's subordinate was also very happy after hearing what Buggy said. Because they can finally deal with the four emperors. Then they also began to make preparations, preparing to go to the four emperors, subordinates to work for the four emperors. Monk also looked at the subordinate in front at this time. Then he asked the other party. What news did you get? Why is your 167 complexion so ugly right now? After saying this, he also waited for the subordinate's answer. At this time, this subordinate also handed over a document in his hand to Monk. Then he said helplessly, you'd better see for yourself, I think it's a bit inappropriate. After saying this, he fell silent. After taking the file, Monk also opened it, and then couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He didn't expect that Buggy, this guy turned to four emperors. Advertisement. This made him feel very angry. The two sides have dealt with each other before. In his opinion, the other party would not be so unbearable. But I really didn't expect this guy to really cooperate with the other party. This made Monk feel very shameless. He only heard him talking to the subordinates in front of him at this time. Are you sure this news is accurate? If you make a mistake, it will definitely be very inappropriate. Quote. After saying this, Monk also looked at this subordinate seriously. After hearing Monk's words, this subordinate also shook his head. Then he spoke forcefully to Monk. Don't worry, my subordinates are absolutely reliable in investigating this matter. There must be no mistakes. Monk nodded slightly after hearing what this subordinate said. Bade. Then he spoke forcefully. If that's the case, then you should leave first. I'll take care of that next. Quote. Advertisement. After hearing Monk's words, the subordinate also nodded slightly. Then he also left here, and then rushed towards the underground of the ghost gang. On Monk's side, after careful consideration for a period of time, he was also going to ask Buggy for an explanation. From Monk's point of view, this guy is really shameless. If not, I wouldn't want to settle accounts with him. So Monk was in a hurry and was going to find Buggy. And at this time celestial dragons also came to Monk's side. I only heard him say to Monk in doubt at this time. Monk, what are you doing here? After hearing celestial dragon's inquiry, Monk also spoke to celestial dragons. I'm going to find Buggy, it's just too boring. He actually turned to the four emperors. I have to ask them for an explanation today. If not, they will definitely think that I am very weak. And if this guy Buggy doesn't give me an explanation, I will definitely kill him. Quote. After saying this, Monk snorted coldly. After hearing what Monk said, celestial dragons thought for a while. Then he spoke forcefully to Monk. Advertisement. Chapter 376. Sincere Surrender. Advertisement. You go looking for Buggy, and you might run into danger along the way. Next, let me go with you, and I will take care of you when the time comes. Quote. After saying this, he smiled slightly at Monk. After hearing what Celestial Dragon said, Monk also felt that what Celestial Dragon said was very reasonable. Afterwards, he nodded heavily, and rushed towards the distance with the Celestial Dragons. At this time, they are going to find Buggy, and Buggy is also waiting to cooperate with Sikao. But at this time, he also saw the front, which made him puzzled when he came in a hurry. Then they waited for the notification from the other party. After this man came in front of Buggy, he hurriedly said to Buggy. Master Buggy is in trouble. Monk has found this place, and made it clear that he wants you to meet him. He also said that he already knew what you did, and if you don't go to him, he will shoot you. After saying this, he also sighed helplessly. Buggy also frowned after hearing what this subordinate said. Then he spoke. Take me to see Monk. After saying this, he also patted his shoulders. Signal the other party not to be so nervous. Advertisement. The subordinate also breathed a sigh of relief after being comforted by Buggy. Then it was two, leading Buggy in front of Buggy. Then the two came to Monk and Celestial Dragons. At this moment, Monk also had a sneer on his face. After seeing Buggy coming, he also said to Buggy coldly. When you were in the past, you didn't make it clear that you would not surrender to the four emperors. Why are you so eager to surrender to it? Today must also give me an explanation. If not, I will not forgive you. Quote. After saying this, he also snorted coldly. After hearing what Monk said, Buggy also sneered. Then he spoke to Monk. If I am willing to surrender, I will surrender, so what does my will have to do with you? And why did you come here and accuse me? This is something I really can't figure out. I don't know what you guys think. Quote. 0 for flowers. Advertisement. After saying this, he also snorted coldly. Then he stretched out his hand towards Monk, telling Monk to get out. After hearing what Buggy said, Monk also frowned and said to Buggy. What you mean is that you are not prepared to surrender to me. So if this is the case, you will be attacked. 0. I won't hold back when the time comes. After saying this, Monk also snorted coldly. The reason why he didn't make a move immediately was also to give Buggy a chance. Find out what this Buggy guy is thinking. Buggy also snorted coldly at this moment, and then said coldly to Monk. Where do you come from? Go where you are, I will not cooperate with you. Now that I have worked with 4 emperors and even surrendered to 4 emperors. Then I should play for them in the future, and you should leave quickly. If not, I will let my men attack you. At that time, as long as I defeat you, I can also take credit for you. Quote. Advertisement. Chapter 377 Full Support. Advertisement. After saying this, Buggy also winked at the subordinate next to him. After that subordinate learned what Buggy meant, he also began to recruit other subordinates. Get them here to support Buggy. Monk also snorted coldly at this time, and then spoke to Buggy. It seems that you are still unwilling to repent. I originally wanted to give you a chance, but you were not at all prepared to seize it. Well, since this is the case, I will definitely bring you back today. Quote. After saying this, Monk also rushed forward quickly, and then came to Buggy's side. Buggy is also using the power of the Torn Devil Fruit at this time. He broke his body into many pieces. Then he dodges quickly, trying to attack Monk with Buggy. Monk has also seen through Buggy's thoughts. He had dealt with Buggy in the past. So Monk is also very aware of some of Buggy's weaknesses. When Buggy used the Buggy cannon, Monk also dodged the attack quickly with a dodge. Then when he reappeared, he was behind Buggy. Advertisement. Then he said to Buggy coldly. Aren't you surrendering now? After saying this, he looked at Buggy coldly. After hearing what Monk said, Buggy also shook his head. Then he spoke to Monk. I won't surrender, you'd better give up on it. After hearing what Buggy said, Monk also frowned. Then he shook his head helplessly. He knew that Buggy had already made up his mind. So since this is the case, there is no need for me to show mercy. Then he also rushed forward, and shot at Buggy Wolf. Buggy is also using armament Haki to resist at this moment. But it's a pity that he didn't practice well, so that he didn't block it at all. Then he was thrown out by Monk with a punch. Monk also snorted coldly at this time, and then spoke to Buggy. This is the last chance, you have to seize it. After saying this, he also looked at Buggy coldly. Advertisement. Buggy is also turning his head to avoid looking at Monk. 0. He has made up his mind that he will never give in to Monk again. Seeing this, Monk also understood Buggy's inner thoughts. Then he also hit Buggy's neck with a hand knife. Buggy also fainted instantly at this moment. Then Monk also spoke to Celestial Dragons. What are you waiting for, Celestial Dragons, take him away with you. After saying this, he also reached out to Celestial Dragons to signal. Celestial Dragons also nodded at this moment, and then quickly came to Monk's side and grabbed Buggy. Then the two rushed to the distance. Buggy's subordinates were also extremely flustered at this time. Although Buggy was not very good to them in the past, it is not bad, and the overall score of 5.1 is not bad. That makes them not want to see Buggy die, so they also want to ask Buggy to rescue them. But it's a pity that their strength is not enough, and they can't help Buggy at all. But they can report the matter to the 4 emperors after the fact. Then let the 4 emperors come to support, and in that case, this matter will definitely be handled well. Advertisement. Chapter 378. Advertisement. After making up their mind, they hurriedly reported the matter. It was just a quick effort, and Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others also knew about this matter. I only heard Kaido talking to Charlotte Linlin and the red hair at this time. What do you two think? After finishing these words, he also waited for the answer from the two of them. Charlotte Linlin also spoke forcefully at this time. In my opinion, this matter must be dealt with, and this guy Monk has too much control over things. If we don't take action, others will definitely think we are very useless. When the time comes, it will definitely make the Monk guy push his feet. After saying this, he also snorted coldly, hearing that his companions had said so. There is no need for Kaido to refute, he also nodded heavily and then spoke. If that's the case, then let's set off immediately, so as to resolve this matter earlier. After this sentence was finished, everyone also started to rush towards the distance. Advertisement. Soon, they also gathered on an island. Then they began to recruit the pirates they had tamed, and waited for these pirates to arrive here. Kaido and Charlotte Linlin also told these pirates about this matter. In order to please the 3 of them, these pirates expressed one after another that they would definitely rescue Buggy. 4 emperors nodded in satisfaction after hearing the other party's promise. Then let the opponent start to prepare, because the next step is to make a move. Many pirates also patted their chests at this time, expressing that they were not afraid. Then they began to wait for the arrival of Monk and Celestial Dragons. Monk and Celestial Dragons are also planning to find a place to rest after driving for a while. Because there is no place for them to rest their feet, they must take a rest. If they don't rest, there is no way to continue their journey, so they also chose an island. After staying here, Monk also noticed something unusual here. At this time, Celestial Dragons also noticed a slight change in Monk's face. Advertisement. Afterwards, with a little induction, he felt that there were many strong people staying on the island. Then, he also frowned, and asked Monk, "Monk, what do we do next?" After saying this, he also waited for Monk's answer. After thinking for a while, Monk said to Wylong people coldly. If it comes, it will be safe, since these guys are going to attack me. Then we don't need it, but our subordinates are merciful. Next, 747 only needs to find them and kill them all. Quote. After saying this, he also snorted coldly. After hearing what Monk said, Celestial Dragons nodded heavily. Now that Monk has made a decision, he can just follow Monk's instructions. Afterwards, he also walked forward with Monk, and after a short time, they also found the 4 emperors ahead. 4 emperors also stood there, waiting for the arrival of several people. After they saw Monk coming, Monk also snorted coldly, and then spoke to these people. Advertisement. Chapter 379 The Arrogant Guy. Advertisement. You guys are quite arrogant. You actually appeared here. Don't you think I won't kill you? After saying this, Monk also looked at the people in front of him coldly. At this time, Charlotte Linlin also spoke to Monk in a cold voice. We don't want to conflict with you today, so you hand over Buggy. In that case, we will leave immediately, and we will definitely not make trouble here. Quote. After saying this, he also waited for Monk's answer. At this time, Monk also waved his hand, and then spoke. Celestial Dragons also promised me before that he would never surrender to you. But this guy is breaking his promise at this moment, so since this is the case, I can only take him back and keep him under strict supervision. But you people, let's go now. Quote. Monk also secretly thought in his heart that he really has no way to fight against these people. Because the strength of this group of guys is still a little bit stronger, if I bring a lot of men here, I definitely won't be afraid of them, but it's a pity that only Buggy is by my side at this time. Advertisement. The many strong men in front of them are not opponents at all. So Monk can only use an empty city strategy to bluff the opponent, so that these guys will go away. Prevent them from sabotaging their plans in the future. After hearing what Monk said, Kaido also said to Monk coldly. What are you thinking in your heart? Do you think I don't know? I have also seen through it now, you must be afraid, that's why you are like this. Then I quickly released Buggy, if not, I will definitely not keep my hands. Quote. After saying this, he also looked at Monk with a wolfish look. He is also not sure whether Monk will hold back, but it does not prevent him from using words to test Monk. See what's going on with Monk. Monk also shook his head helplessly at this moment. Then, he spoke to celestial dragons. When I say war, you run away quickly and never stay. After saying this, he also patted some celestial dragons on the shoulders. Advertisement. After hearing what Monk said, celestial dragons nodded heavily. Then he was also ready to escape from here, and then Monk also rushed forward suddenly. At this time, he is not prepared to keep his hands anymore. Because Monk also sees it through, if he continues to entangle with the other party here. Monk, who will definitely let the other party see the flaws in order to prevent this from happening. He can only defeat the opponent with thunderous means, so as to dispel the opponent's small thoughts. Following Monk's attack, Charlotte Linlin and Kaido also frowned. Then he hurried forward, ready to meet Hao Nuo's Monk. But before they came to Monk, Monk also killed a pirate alive. This ruthless move of Monk also suppressed the four emperors. They also thought of the scene where Monk defeated them earlier. This made them tremble with fear, not knowing what to do. After Monk killed a pirate, he continued to repeat his tricks to kill all the pirates in front of him. Advertisement. Chapter 380 Leaving Alone. Advertisement. In order to make the four emperors afraid of that, they will be able to leave. But alas, with Kaido and Charlotte Linlin joining the fray, Monk is not doing so well. But fortunately, I have let the celestial dragons leave with Buggy. But at this moment, Monk also suddenly discovered that the celestial dragons were still standing there. This made Monk frown for a moment, and then he said loudly to celestial dragons. Celestial dragons, what are you doing? Why don't you run away? At this time, celestial dragons also said helplessly. Actually, I want to leave too, but unfortunately there is no chance at all. After saying this, he also helplessly spread his hands to express that there was nothing he could do. Then he stretched out his finger and pointed to the side of OOO. Later, Monk discovered that there were many pirates around the celestial dragons. Monk understood in an instant what was going on. I only heard Monk speaking to the celestial dragons at this time. If that's the case, then the two of us will face each other. Advertisement. I'd like to see what's so great about these people. Quote. At this time, celestial dragons also nodded heavily. Then he also came to Monk's side, ready to fight. After seeing the celestial dragons, Monk is BABG ready. Then he patted celestial dragons on the shoulder, and said to celestial dragons. Next, you and I will take action and kill all these guys. After hearing what Monk said, celestial dragons also grinned. Then he rushed forward and started to attack the pirates in front of him. At this time, Charlotte Linlin and Kaido also began to counterattack continuously. They also didn't expect that Monk and celestial dragons would be so strong together, just in the blink of an eye. Kaido, Charlotte Linlin and others, the pirates recruited, have already suffered heavy casualties. They knew that if they continued, their side would probably become a poor commander again. Then Charlotte Linlin also spoke loudly to those subordinates behind him. Get back quickly, we are here to fight. Advertisement. Those pirates also nodded heavily after receiving Charlotte Linlin's order. Then they retreated one after another, and after they all retreated, he also breathed a sigh of relief. Then he quickly backed away. Monk saw all the pirates in front of him running back. After that, he also frowned, and looked at Charlotte Linlin, wondering what Charlotte Linlin was going to do again. Then he said to Charlotte Linlin coldly, "You be ********** D, what are you going to do?" After saying this, he also looked at those people in front of him coldly. At this time, Charlotte Linlin also said coldly, "I'm not going to let you guys continue to attack my subordinates. Next, let us fight with the two of you." After saying this sentence, he also snorted coldly. Then he rushed forward and launched an attack on Monk and celestial dragons. Celestial dragons also frowned instantly, and then stood in front of Monk to fight with duo. And Monk can only fight alone, Red Hair and Charlotte Linlin. Advertisement. Chapter 381 Fighting against the two. Advertisement. Then Monk sighed helplessly, and began to confront the two seriously. Kaido and celestial dragons slowly leave towards the distance. The two of them also didn't know who was leading the way, so they started to retreat towards the outside. Monk also frowned at this time, feeling a little inappropriate, because accidents might happen. But I can't take care of myself, and I don't have time to help celestial dragons. He could only let the opponent fight, and then Monk also stabilized his mind. An attack on Charlotte Linlin and the redhead. At this time, the red hair also pulled out the long knife and slashed at Monk. And Monk also quickly dodged at this moment, and then hid behind Charlotte Linlin. Then he punched Charlotte Linlin. Charlotte Linlin had rough skin and thick flesh because of her huge body. Monk's punch didn't do any useful damage at all, it just made Charlotte Linlin very angry. Charlotte Linlin also roared, then turned around and held the long knife made by her soul. Chopping towards Monk, Monk also bent down to avoid the opponent's attack. Advertisement. But at this moment, the red hair also pulled his body forward and slashed at Monk's shoulder. Monk's shoulder also broke a big hole suddenly, and blood began to spurt out continuously. Just when Monk missed, Charlotte Linlin attacked him again. Monk also retreated a few steps quickly, dodging Charlotte Linlin's slash. Then he began to think that he must think of a countermeasure on his side. If not, it is really possible to die here. Then he also set his sights on the red hair, although the red hair is not obvious. But the strength is very strong, if he is fighting Charlotte Linlin. If the red hair has a chance, the red hair guy will never miss it, and his life will be in danger when the time comes. So Monk must try his best to get close to the red hair and kill the red hair first. Only in that way can we guarantee that there will be no mistakes on our side. After making up his mind, Monk rushed straight towards the red hair. The redhead quickly dodged to the side at this moment. He didn't expect that Monk would actually look for 10 of him to attack. Advertisement. 0 for flowers. This made him extremely flustered, and then he quickly winked at Charlotte Linlin. Charlotte Linlin also understood the meaning of the red hair in an instant, and then she appeared beside the red hair. Taking offense as defense, blocking Monk's attack, Monk is not resisting at this moment. 0.0. I saw that he continued to rush forward at this time. Even if Charlotte Linlin's offense hit him, he didn't avoid it. As Charlotte Linlin slashed at Monk's body, Monk just let out a muffled grunt. Then his body swayed slightly, and then he continued to attack the red hair. I saw that the red hair also wanted to escape at this time. But it's a pity that Monk had already prepared, and a palm was printed on the back of the red hair. The red hair also fell to the ground in a daze, and Monk also chased after the victory when he saw this. But at this moment, a roar resounded through the sky, making Monk feel very helpless. Because he found out that Kaido had caught the celestial dragons in front of him. Advertisement. Chapter 382, The Coma Celestial Dragons. Advertisement. At this time, the celestial dragons have passed out. Monk knew that the other party wanted to threaten him with celestial dragons, so Monk could leave completely. But it is a pity that it is impossible for him to watch celestial dragons be killed. We can only let the other party give their opinions, and only listen to Monk speaking at this time. Tell me what to do. After saying this, he also looked at Guy Luo with a serious 3 zeros. At this time, Kaido also said to Monk in a cold voice. Of course you took this piece of shit and we left with Buggy. Monk also nodded heavily without thinking about it. After that, they also stepped forward to pick up the celestial dragons, and rushed towards the distance. Kaido also heaved a sigh of relief after watching Monk leave. It took a lot of effort on his side to hurt the celestial dragons. If the two sides continue to entangle, then his side will undoubtedly die. Advertisement. That's why he drove Monk away like just now, if not, he would really suffer. Then they also turned their heads and spoke to Charlotte Linlin and the red-haired duo. Now that Monk's troubles are over, let's take Buggy and leave. After hearing what Kaido said, the two of them nodded heavily. Then the three of them also started to summon those subordinates, and they left here together with these subordinates. Monk also quickly returned to the underwater world, after waiting for him. He was also quick, and found the warden. The warden saw that Monk arrived here with a patient who was so injured. He also couldn't help frowning, and then he also hurried forward. I only heard Monk speaking to the warden at this time. Right now, arrange for someone to cure him. After hearing Monk's words, the warden nodded heavily. Then he hurriedly took the celestial dragons, and then sent people to send the dragons to the medical room for treatment. Advertisement. When Monk watched the celestial dragons enter the medical room, he also breathed a sigh of relief. Then he walked to the warden and spoke to the warden. The strength of our organization is still not enough, and a series of weapons in the organization have yet to be upgraded. Next, I am going to find something to improve these weapons and the power of the strong in our ghost gang. Tell me, where should I go to find such a thing? After saying this, Monk also looked at the warden with burning eyes, waiting for the warden's answer. After hearing Monk's inquiry, the warden also thought for a while. Then he spoke to Monk forcefully. 2 days ago, I also got news that there was a place called the Realm of the Deep Sea. You can go to the deep sea to try your luck, there will often be treasures and energy in 3.2. I believe there, should be able to get a range of what you want. Quote. After hearing what the warden said, Monk nodded in satisfaction. Then the warden took a map, and then Monk left the underwater world in a hurry. Heading towards the deep sea, after several days of running around, Monk finally arrived at the deep sea. Advertisement. Chapter 383 The Realm of the Deep Sea. Advertisement. When he got to the deep sea, Monk saw a series of treasures. But these treasures, as if they were imprisoned, Monk couldn't take them away at all. And those treasures are also protected by the sea water in the deep sea. These sea waters seem to have spiritual intelligence, and when they see someone approaching, they will suddenly generate a big wave and rush to the shore. It was also when Monk saw a big wave that slammed the extremely hard reef into pieces. Not daring to rush forward to take those treasures, Monk also found a local creature to ask him. How can we take away the treasures and energy in the deep sea? The other party was also hesitant, and didn't want to talk to Monk. Monk also used lures to make the other party tell the way. After hearing what the other party said, Monk didn't expect this method to be so simple. Then Monk returned to the place with treasures and energy with a wry smile on his face. The creature said that if you want to get energy and treasures, you can't touch them with your hands. Advertisement. You can take a fishing rod and rope to get those treasures and energy. In that case, the situation where the sea water hits people is avoided. After learning the method, Monk took those treasures and energy faster. But it also uses a set of ropes, stretched forward, and then pulled back. A treasure was brought back to the shore by Monk. Then Monk also took it into the bag, and then repeated the same trick. Soon, Monk also accumulated a lot of energy and treasures. Seeing that he had almost found what he had found, Monk also threw the rope to the ground. Then he left the realm of the deep sea and rushed towards the underwater world, after seeing the monk who had gone and returned. The warden also widened his eyes in shock, he didn't expect Monk to come back again. Then he also asked Monk in doubt. Master Monk, why did you come back so quickly? Could it be that something happened? After saying this, he also waited for Monk's answer in confusion. At this time, Monk also smiled slightly and then spoke to the warden. Advertisement. You are wrong, I have already brought back those treasures and energy from the deep sea realm. After saying this, Monk also waved his hand, and many treasures appeared in front of the warden. After the warden saw this scene, his eyes widened instantly, showing an expression of disbelief. He never thought that it was just a day's work. Monk was able to bring back so many treasures and energy from the deep sea. 467 Logically speaking, going to the deep sea requires a very long time of preparation. Only in this way can the treasures and energy there be brought out. But I didn't expect Monk to be so fast, which made the warden admire. At this time, the warden also gave a thumbs up suddenly. Monk also smiled slightly at this time, and then spoke to the warden. Don't flatter me, just pick some treasures and leave them in the underwater world. I will take other treasures and energy to the Ghost Gate Gang, and use it to improve the strength of the Ghost Gate Gang. The warden, after hearing Monk's words, also acted hastily. Advertisement. Chapter 384 Collecting Treasures. Advertisement. At this time, he also quickly received all the treasures in front of him into the package. Then he stood there and looked at Monk calmly. Monks no. The warden has already been selected. Then he stepped forward, patted the warden on the shoulder, and said to the warden. Don't be so cautious, I still have a series of energies here. Now that the treasures are finished, you can take a look at them. Quote. Hearing this, the warden also selected some energy again, and then he stopped when enough was enough and no longer selected. There are a lot of people in the underwater world, and there are even a lot of strong people, so the warden knows the situation. He is not going to grab resources from the Ghost Gate Gang. The most important thing is that those strong people in the Ghost Gate Gang are all blood-licking people. There is no reason for him to rob them, after Monk saw that the warden had already been selected. He also smiled slightly, and then flicked his sleeves to collect all the resources into the owner of the garden. Afterwards, he bid farewell to the warden and left here. After the warden watched Monk leave, he also gave away the treasures and energy he got. Advertisement. It was all used on the strong men under him, and he didn't hand it over to Whitebeard or Garp. Because he knows that it is most appropriate to improve the strength of his subordinates. If these two people suddenly rebelled after they improved their strength, that would be bad, and he wouldn't be able to explain to Monk then. After Monk left this place, he also rushed towards the base of the Ghost Gate Gang. After Monk's rush, he also quickly arrived at the base of the Ghost Gate Gang. After seeing Monk's arrival, all the powerful members of the Gimmon Gang bowed to Monk to say hello. Monk didn't care, waved his hand, and then spoke to this kind of person. Next, you can share all these treasures and energy. I want to see you improve your strength, and then you can deal with the world government. After hearing Monk's words, many strong men in the Ghost Gate Gang. It was also Chichi who locked his eyes on the treasures and energy that Monk took out. Then they couldn't help being stunned, the treasures and energy in front of them. Advertisement. All of them are hard for ordinary people to see. I didn't expect Monk to have such a big hand. So much was taken out in a wave of hands, and it was clearly stated that they should divide it by themselves. This made them feel happy. Monk saw how reserved these Ghost Gang strongmen are. He was also a little helpless, and then he spoke to these people. Quote. Backquote. It's still there, why are you being reserved? Take it as soon as you need it. If I say otherwise, I will take it back, and then you will not be able to get these treasures and energy. Quote. After saying this, Monk looked at the strong men in front of him with a smile. After hearing Monk's words, these Ghost Gang members hurried forward. Then, he began to take the treasures and energy that suit him. After looking at those strong men and taking all these things, he also smiled slightly. Then, he spoke to a member of the management team next to him. Next, you will focus on supervising the members of our Ghost Gang, and let them improve their strength a lot. In that case, you can be sure when dealing with the world government. Quote. 0. Advertisement. Chapter 385 Strong Management. Advertisement. After saying this, he also looked at the management of the strong Ghost Gang with burning eyes. After hearing Monk's words, the strong man nodded heavily. Then he patted his chest and said to Monk that he would definitely do his duty and follow Monk's orders. Monk also nodded in satisfaction, and after he praised this person, he found Celestial Dragons. At this time Celestial Dragons is still seriously injured, although he can move a little. But if you want to fight, it's still a bit difficult. After seeing Monk, Celestial Dragons also smiled slightly. Then, he spoke to Monk. Monk, I'm really sorry for dragging you down. After finishing these words, he also sighed helplessly 697. After hearing what Celestial Dragons said, Monk waved his hand indifferently. Then, he spoke to Celestial Dragons. What's the point? Your strength is slightly inferior to Kaido's. And Kaido is very cunning, you have nothing to feel guilty about losing. Advertisement. Next, you should recover well. I have brought you a series of treasures and energy to enhance your strength. You use this to recover from your injuries and improve your strength. At that time, we will bring these strong men from the Ghost Gate gang to settle accounts together. After saying this, Monk also patted Celestial Dragons on the shoulder. At this time, Celestial Dragons also cried out in pain. Then Monk remembered that the Celestial Dragons were still injured. Then he scratched his head in embarrassment and laughed, and Celestial Dragons laughed and cried too. Monk placed those things in front of Celestial Dragons, allowing Celestial Dragons to absorb and improve their strength. Monk turned around and left here, watching Monk leave Celestial Dragons. Also moved his sight to those treasures and energies that could enhance his strength. Then he casually picked up a ball of energy, held it in the palm of his hand, and touched it fiercely. This energy also slowly merged into his body. At this moment, Celestial Dragons also felt that the pain on the body was relieved and even the wounds showed signs of healing. This made Celestial Dragons very happy, and then he began to sit cross-legged to absorb these energies. Advertisement. And he didn't care about the pain anymore, even a single movement would cause him severe pain. He also insisted on absorbing energy, and Monk didn't go far, and he happened to see this scene when he turned his head. Celestial Dragons' efforts made Monk very pleased, and then they were not going to bother Celestial Dragons again. Monk also left here very quickly. The many strong members of the Ghost Gate gang were not surprised after seeing Monk leave. Because Monk has this personality, he will not stay in one place for a long time. Sometimes he is nowhere to be seen at all, and Monk appears in this time where the Four Emperors are stronghold. After he arrived here, Monk launched a fierce attack on the people in the Four Emperors base without saying a word. After the many strong men in the Four Emperors base area discovered the situation, they rushed out to surround Monk. But Monk saw that the situation was not good, so he turned and left. Only a group of gnashing pirates remained. Kaido and Charlotte Linlin also got the news. A few of them also gathered together and began to discuss. Only to hear the red hair at this time, also Wachan said. Advertisement. Chapter 386 Responding too slowly. Advertisement. Monk is such a thug that he is not going to confront us head-on. How do we solve this problem with just a sneak attack and a quick retreat? After saying this, they also set their sights on Kaido. Wanting to hear Kaido's thoughts, Kaido also shook his head, expressing that he also doesn't know what to do. Afterwards, the red hair and Kaido looked at Charlotte Linlin. Charlotte Linlin was contemplating at this time, after he noticed the sight of these two people. He also raised his head helplessly, and said to the two of them. We can't act rashly at this time, you can only let Monk make trouble. In fact, we can also go to the Ghost Gate gang to make a fuss. But this guy must have set up many traps there. Quote. If I wait to go, it is very likely that I will never return, so we will bear this anger for now. When there is a chance, I will settle the account with Monk. Quote. After hearing this sentence, the red hair also nodded helplessly, and then scattered in all directions. Advertisement. At this time, they also made up their minds to deploy manpower everywhere. And they are hiding among these people, just waiting for Monk to come. They kept Monk here with the momentum of siege, otherwise, Monk would be too rampant. After making up their mind, they also took action one after another, and then they began to wait for Monk's arrival. In the past, they hated Monk's arrival extremely, but at this time, they began to look forward to Monk's arrival. It's a pity that after Monk attacked once, he stopped coming. This made Kaido, Hongfa and others anxiously waiting. But no matter how anxious, the initiative is in the hands of Monk. Monk will not come if he wants to, and they have no way to find Monk. In this way, the idea of besieging Monk did not come true after all. After waiting for a long time, Kaido, Hongfa and others couldn't wait any longer. The two of them were also cursing, and returned to the big wooden building in the base area. And Monk smiled coldly after seeing Kaido and the red hair leaving. The whole person raised his breath and flew up lightly, flying over, and then quickly arrived at the Four Emperors base. Advertisement. Zero looking for flowers. At this time, the pirates in the Four Emperors base had already been waiting for a long time. Although Kaido has left with red hair, they dare not relax their vigilance. If they dared to let their guard down, Monk would definitely kill them. Kaido, red hair and others are not afraid of Monk's attack, but they are weak and they are afraid. When Monk saw that these pirates raised their weapons and pointed them at him, they landed on the ground mercilessly. Afterwards, the pirates under the command of the Four Emperors began to be massacred. At this moment, Kaido and Charlotte Linlin sat up from their chairs when they heard the screams outside. Then he quickly rushed out of the wooden building and stood in front of Chingchen. Monk was also cold at this time, and said to several people. Your reactions are too slow. I thought that you could come to face me as soon as I arrived. It seems that you are still such a waste. Quote. After saying this, Monk also waved his arms forward and punched 2 times and 8 times. Advertisement. Chapter 387 Revenge for the Members. Advertisement. Then the whole person disappeared in place. Charlotte Linlin and Kaido, after contacting Monk's offense. Then they found that Monk had slipped away again, which made the two of them very angry. In the process of leaping forward, Monk also looked back. When he found that Kaido and Charlotte Linlin didn't come after him, he also mocked these two guys in his heart. But at this time, 970, a loud shout came, the minister of Monk's ears. Monk, don't be too rampant, stop quickly, I will definitely kill you here today. After hearing these words, Monk also stopped slowly. Turning around, he saw the angry red hair. In fact, there is no need for Red Hair to chase Monk, but all the pirates that Monk killed just now were members of his pirate group. Therefore, he must avenge the members of his pirate group. If not, he would be worthy of the name of the captain. At that time, those members will definitely have a grudge against him, so today, he must come to fight Monk. Advertisement. Even if you lose, you can still have an explanation with those members. When Monk saw the angry Red Hair, he also spoke to the Red Hair. The three of you join hands, and there is no way for me to cause harm. Don't you think that you can deal with me by yourself? If you want me to say, you should get out, if not, I don't mind killing you. I'm in a pretty good mood today, so I'm going to let you go, don't push yourself too hard. Quote. After saying this, Monk also snorted coldly. At this time, Monk also made up his mind. If this redhead dared to say one more word, he would show no mercy to him. After making up his mind, Monk also looked at the red hair coldly. After the redhead heard what Monk said, his expression became extremely ugly. He also wanted to say a few more words to make himself tougher. But his strength did not allow him to say two arrogant words, and at this time he was also thinking about what to do. Advertisement. Seeing that the red hair was so spineless, Monk snorted coldly, turned around and prepared to leave. In fact, Redhead was not prepared to fight with Monk much before, just sparring with Monk twice is enough. 0. But Monk's cold snort just now also stimulated his self-esteem. Then he also raised his hand and said coldly to Monk. Today, I will definitely kill you. After saying this, he rushed towards Monk without fear of death. It was also at this moment that Monk suddenly bent over to avoid the knife from the red hair. Then he swung a punch, and immediately sent the red hair flying backwards. Then Monk also walked in the air, chasing after the red hair. He was also angered by the red hair today. Monk is also determined to get rid of the red hair. 1.6 But at this moment, two tall bodies also stood in front of Monk. Monk took a closer look and found that Kaido and Charlotte Linlin came here at some point. At this time, the two of them had to hold their two weapons and looked at Monk warily. At this time, Monk also made an extremely insulting gesture towards the two of them. Then he left here quickly. Advertisement. Chapter 388 Returning to the Ghost Gate Gang. Advertisement. Charlotte Linlin and Kaido also breathed a sigh of relief after watching Monk leave. Both of them are also afraid that Monk will stay here to fight. In that case, even if they want to injure Monk, they will have to pay a lot of price. This was something they couldn't accept, and then the two turned around and looked at the redhead who slowly stood up from the ground. Then the two also sighed helplessly, and returned to the Four Emperors base together with the red hair. Monk also thought about it during the journey, and found that he still wanted to go back to the Ghost Gate Gang to have a look. Because in the past, I separated many energies and treasures. The Ghost Gate 10 gang has been assigned a lot of energy and treasures. So Monk decided to go and see if the members of the Gimmon gang had made any progress. When Monk was constantly flying, he also came to the base of the Ghost Gate gang. After arriving here, Monk also saw the members of the Gatekeeper. After careful investigation, he found that the opponent's strength had improved, and then Monk nodded in satisfaction. Advertisement. Then, under his leadership, he entered the Ghost Gate gang. After entering the Ghost gang, Monk also found the Celestial Dragons. When he saw the Celestial Dragons, he nodded in satisfaction. Because at this time, Celestial Dragons' injuries have recovered quickly, and it seems that the Emperor has also increased. Celestial Dragons also smiled slightly after seeing Monk coming, and then hurried forward. After the two approached, Monk also patted Celestial Dragons on the shoulder, and then spoke to Celestial Dragons. That's right, the power has actually improved so much. After hearing what Monk said, Celestial Dragons patted their chests, and then spoke to Monk. Of course, the strength will definitely improve. You have given so much energy and treasures, if I don't improve my strength, then I will be a waste. Quote. Oh, by the way, what are you doing here today? I don't believe it, you just came to see me. Quote. After saying this, he also waited for Monk's answer. Advertisement. Monk also nodded slightly at this time, and then spoke to the Dragon Opener. I want to see if the strength of our Ghost Gang members has improved. If there is no promotion, I will eliminate some members as appropriate. Quote. After hearing Monk's words, Celestial Dragons thought for a while, and then spoke to Monk. Don't worry about this, I have been in this Ghost Gang for a while. It was found that all the members of the Ghost Gang have improved more or less. Quote. 387 And in terms of their improvement, you can't just focus on their strength improvement. We must also pay attention to other aspects of improvement. If you only focus on the improvement of strength, it would be unfair to some members of the Ghost Gate Gang. Quote. After hearing what Celestial Dragons said, Monk nodded slightly, and then spoke to Celestial Dragons. Don't say anything more, then you take me to see these members. After hearing what Monk said, Celestial Dragons nodded slightly, and then led the way in front of Monk. Soon, the two of them came to a place underground, above an extremely large open space. Advertisement. Chapter 389 Examining the Achievements of Cultivation. Advertisement. It was also built into a square by members of the Ghost Gate Gang. I only heard Celestial Dragons speaking to a member of the Ghost Gate Gang at this time. Go and call everyone, I have something to explain. After saying this, he also waved his hand at the member of the Ghost Gang. Indicate that the other party hastened to deal with your matter. After hearing the order from the celestial dragons, the member of the Ghost Gate also nodded hastily. Then he turned around in a hurry and went to do the matter according to celestial dragons' instructions. Monk was also very relieved to see this scene from the side. Celestial dragons was sent here by him, the main purpose is to manage the Ghost Gang. But because the celestial dragons were injured before, Monk also forgot about it. Also, Monk doesn't think that a wounded celestial dragons can make the members of the Ghost Gate Gang obey his orders. But unexpectedly, the celestial dragons were able to recover many members of the Ghost Gate Gang under such circumstances. Advertisement. This made Monk feel very gratified. Celestial dragons also turned around after Pai left, the strong man of the Ghost Gate Gang, and said to Monk. You don't have to worry, I have already issued an order to them, and they will definitely arrive here quickly. When the time comes, it's up to you to test their cultivation results, for people. After hearing what celestial dragons said, Monk didn't answer, but looked forward calmly. People gathered in front of Monk very quickly, and these Ghost Gang members were also lined up, waiting for Monk's inspection. At this time, Monk also threw a stone lightly. After the stone flew up, it instantly turned into a giant, and then fell to the ground with a bang. Everyone was also shocked by Monk's action. At this time, Monk also spoke to the many members of the Ghost Gate Gang in front of him. Everyone, this is a treasure to test strength. Come forward and hit this treasure one by one, let me see if you have improved. Advertisement. If anyone has not improved, or even stagnated in strength, then leave the Ghost Gate Gang as soon as possible. The Ghost Gate Gang does not allow this kind of waste to exist. And if there are people who say that his strength improvement is not above strength, he can also apply for me to check first. Quote. After saying this, Monk folded his arms and waited for the front, and the members of the Ghost Gang reacted. The members of the Ghost Gang were also in a mess for a second, and then they lined up again. One by one, according to the method Monk just said, they launched an attack on the huge stone. Time passed quickly, and after waiting for 4 hours, Monk nodded in relief. Because he found that the strength of the members of the Ghost Gate Gang, Li Dezhao, has more or less improved. There are even 2 members who said that their devil fruit has been developed to the peak strength by them. Monk also nodded in satisfaction after checking it out. Although, the devil fruit of these 2 members is not a very powerful fruit. But if they cooperate with upper body skills, they can have first-class strength. Monk also smiled slightly at this time. Advertisement. Chapter 390. Advertisement. Then let these Ghost Gang members go to do their own things, and don't need to stay here anymore. The celestial dragons watched them off, and after the Ghost Gang members dispersed, they also smiled at Monk. Then he spoke to Monk. Well, let me say that they have all improved their strength, you still don't believe it. After hearing what celestial dragons said, Monk nodded slightly, and then spoke to celestial dragons. Since those members, we have checked them all. Next, I am going to give you a try. Would you like to fight with me? Quote. After saying this, he also looked at celestial dragons seriously. After hearing what Monk said, celestial dragons also nodded heavily, and then spoke to Monk. It's an honor, come on. After saying this, celestial dragons quickly took 2 steps back, and then took a fighting stance. Monk also restrained his smile at this moment, and then looked at celestial dragons seriously. Just listen to Monk at this time, also speaking to the celestial dragons, reminding. Advertisement. Next, it's you and me who will discuss each other. You must not hold back. After saying this sentence, Monk also yelled and stepped forward. Tianlong Beck people also quickly obeyed. When he dodged Monk's punch, he also kicked it out. Want to kick on Monk's weakness, so that Monk will show his flaws. And Monk turned over at this moment, and quickly swung forward with his fist. Immediately afterwards, fists rained down on the celestial dragons. Celestial dragons is also a jump, and Monk's attacks all hit the air. Celestial dragons also kicked Monk with their legs when they saw that Monk's attack had subsided. Just like that, the 2 of them exchanged punches and kicks with each other. The originally flat square was plowed into ruins by these 2 war machines. The many strong members of the Ghost Gate Gang who were watching the battle did not dare to say anything. In their view, both men counted as their leaders. The 2 leaders are fighting, how could they dare to stop them? Advertisement. So they can only watch the battle from the sidelines, watching and watching, they are also fascinated by watching. Because of the battle between the 2, every move and every style has a trick, and it looks extremely powerful. And after watching too much, they actually felt that the skills they couldn't practice before had mastered them at this moment. They did not hide this kind of benefit, but began to tell their companions. Soon, many members of the Ghost Gate Gang gathered outside the square. Watching the Monk and the celestial dragons discussing each other. After the 2 fought for a while, they also lost to celestial dragons, marking the end. Monk also stepped forward at this moment, and spoke to the panting celestial dragons. It seems that you still need to practice. After hearing Monk's words, celestial dragons cursed Monk secretly, and then smiled wryly. He thinks that he has worked very hard in his cultivation, and he also takes care of physical skills. Every day, it took hours to complete these tasks, but in the end, it still couldn't beat Monk. Thinking of this, he also said helplessly to Monk. 0. Advertisement. Chapter 391 Stay for a while. Advertisement. I also worked very hard, but you guy is really too enchanting. I train for hours a day and get out of breath every day. But in the end, I still can't beat you guy. Quote. After saying this sentence, he also let out a long sigh, feeling very helpless. Monk also smiled slightly at this moment, and then spoke to celestial dragons. This side is also stronger than you because of some adventures. However, if you continue to practice hard, you will catch up with me sooner or later. Quote. After saying this, he also patted celestial dragons on the shoulder, and then spoke to celestial dragons. Now you send someone to prepare a place for me. I want to stay in this ghost gang, for a while. I want to consolidate my strength here. Quote. After saying this, he also turned his gaze towards celestial dragons to explore the island. After hearing what Monk said, celestial dragons also slapped itself on the chest suddenly. Then he spoke to Monk forcefully. Advertisement. No matter what you say here, it's your ghost gang, and I can order them, but it's just taking your light. In the final analysis, it is still working for you, and you don't need to ask me for instructions, you can just order it directly. Quote. After saying this, celestial dragons also turned around and gave instructions to a ghost gangster next to him. The strong man of the Ghost Gate gang was also in a hurry, so he went to follow the instructions of the celestial dragons to do this matter. In just 10 minutes, Monk had a residence here, and then settled here temporarily. In the past few days, Monk also often competes with celestial dragons. Celestial dragons are also open to comers, as long as Monk says he wants to learn from each other, he agrees. The two of them often exchange ideas in that square. The two also fought happily, which made the members of the Ghost Gate gang suffer. They have to repair the square every day, which makes them feel very helpless. On this day, Monk also noticed something strange about the celestial dragons. After that, he was not ready and continued to compete with celestial dragons. Then he also watched celestial dragons from the sidelines, waiting for celestial dragons to wake up. 0 seeking flowers. 0. Advertisement. At this time, the power of the celestial dragons is also constantly surging, as if they want to improve their strength, but they don't seem to be. At this time, his state is a bit like having a demon. At this time, Monk didn't dare to disturb celestial dragons at all, and he didn't even dare to help celestial dragons. Now Monk hasn't figured out what happened to the Wylong people. If Monk knew exactly what happened to celestial dragons, Monk would be able to think of ways to deal with it. This guy's state at this time is really incomprehensible. After waiting for a while, celestial dragons opened their eyes slowly, and then saw Monk with a look of astonishment. At this time, Monk also asked celestial dragons. Celestial dragons, what happened to you just now? Did you encounter a demon? Or is it about improving strength? Why was the state just now so weird? After saying this, Monk also waited for celestial dragons' answer. After hearing Monk's words, celestial dragons also spoke forcefully to Monk. Advertisement. Chapter 392 Surrounded by 4 Emperors. Advertisement. Just now my strength has improved, and now I have also improved a lot of strength. If I'm fighting you, I can last dozens of strokes. Quote. After Monk heard what celestial dragons said, he also understood that the celestial dragons were improving their strength, and then he breathed a sigh of relief. Just now he had an idea of wanting to kill the celestial dragons. Because if celestial dragons had a heart demon, 083, then celestial dragons' minds at this time would no longer be so pure. And if I get along with this kind of person, I will definitely be bewitched by him, and then do a series of inappropriate things. At this time, celestial dragons also smiled slightly towards Monk. You don't think that I have demons, so I'm going to attack me and kill me. After hearing what celestial dragons said, Monk nodded slightly. He wasn't going to lie to the celestial dragons about this. And in his opinion, lying is useless, it is better to directly raise the topic with the other party. At this time, celestial dragons also sighed helplessly, and then spoke to Monk. Advertisement. Don't worry, even if someone has demons, I won't have demons. After Monk heard what celestial dragons said, he also hurriedly changed the subject. He didn't want to continue talking about this topic with celestial dragons, and tried to talk about it. I only heard him speaking to celestial dragons at this time. Next, the two of us will prepare to destroy the 4 emperors. Those guys of them are really hateful, even worse than the leader of the world government. Quote. After hearing Monk's words, celestial dragons nodded heavily, approving Monk's words very much. In the past, he suffered from the leader of the world government, and he also suffered from the 4 emperors. But in comparison, the leader of the world government is more humane. Because the leader of the world government didn't embarrass him, but the 4 emperors were a little hard to say. Kaido also wounded him, and then took his neck to talk to Monk. This made celestial dragons feel very humiliated, so he prepared to attack with Monk to destroy the 4 emperors. But at this moment, a strong man from the Ghost Gate gang wearing a battlesuit 0. Advertisement. Also in a hurry, they came to the side of Monk and celestial dragons. Celestial dragons also frowned when they saw the other party's impatience. Then he asked this strong man of the Ghost Gate gang. In front of the two of us, so flustered, how decent, what to say quickly. After saying this, they also looked at the strong man of the Ghost Gate gang in front of them seriously. After hearing the inquiry from the celestial dragons, the strong man from the Ghost Gate clan also took a breath. Then he spoke forcefully to Monk and celestial dragons. My lords, something is wrong, our base of the Ghost Gate gang is surrounded by 4 emperors. Those guys brought a lot of pirates, and they are calling for you two to meet them at 5.9. Quote. Celestial dragons also flew into a rage after hearing the words of the strong man of the ghost gang. Afterwards, Monk also spoke to the celestial dragons. There's no need to get angry here, the two of you and I will set off next and spread our anger on the four emperors. Let them know the consequences of messing with us. 0. Advertisement. Chapter 393. Advertisement. Celestial dragons gritted their teeth when they heard Monk's words. Then they followed Monk closely and left the base of the Ghost Gate gang together. Wait for the two of them to appear outside the base of the Ghost Gate gang. I also saw the densely packed pirates and pirate ships surrounding the base of the Ghost Gate gang. Monk also couldn't help showing a sneer, and then said to celestial dragons. In the past, it was you and me who competed, but this time it doesn't matter. Because we can completely shoot these guys and let them be sandbags for the two of us. Quote. After saying this, Monk turned his head to look at celestial dragons. Celestial dragons also showed the same sneer as Monk, and then said to Monk. Who said it wasn't? Next, you and I will join hands to make them unclean. Quote. After saying this, the two of them didn't say much, they rushed forward and attacked the pirates under the four emperors. Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others, when they saw Monk and celestial dragons, killed them as soon as they came out. Advertisement. Also felt very shocked. They also didn't expect that Monk was so decisive. In the past, Monk would say some harsh words first, and then fight. But unexpectedly, Monk went against the rules this time. While they were in a daze, Monk and celestial dragons joined forces to kill many pirates under the four emperors. The three of them reacted in a hurry, and Charlotte Linlin also spoke loudly at this time. Kaido, you go with me to fight Monk. Redhead, you're going to fight the celestial dragons, we're going to kill them today. After saying this, they also rushed forward. And Kaido followed closely behind him. Soon, the two of them also stood in front of Monk. Monk also felt very impatient after seeing those two familiar figures. Monk also sighed helplessly, because he knew that these two guys stood in front of him. There is no way for me to kill other people. Advertisement. Afterwards, he also threw away the blood on the long knife in his hand. Then, he spoke to Charlotte Linlin and Kaido with disgust. You two guys are really lingering, and it really annoys me that you are still blocking here. If the two of you know each other, stand by the side and don't interfere. After I kill all these pirates, we will communicate again. Quote. Charlotte Linlin and Kaido snorted coldly after hearing Monk's words. 220. I only heard Charlotte Linlin coldly speaking to Monk at this time. If we let you continue to kill, wouldn't we become poor commanders? When the time comes, we will definitely be the fish on your chopping board, so we won't be caught without a fight. At this time, Kaido also spoke to Monk. Today is your death day, next year today is your death day. After hearing what Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others said, Monk also sighed helplessly. Then he spoke to the two of them. It seems that you are still obsessed with your obsession, so I can only give you to the Holy Spirit. Advertisement. Chapter 394 Cannon Fodder. Advertisement. Charlotte Linlin laughed out loud when she heard what Monk said, and then she sarcastically spoke to Monk. I admit that your strength is indeed very strong. But Redhead is just as strong, and he's perfectly capable of killing the celestial dragons again, and coming back to support the two of us later. If the three of us work together, we will definitely be able to seriously injure you. Quote. And the subordinates behind me are not vegetarians either. When the time comes, I will let them attack you one by one. In that case, it will definitely kill you. Quote. After hearing what Charlotte Linlin said, Monk didn't answer, but stretched out his finger and pointed to the battlefield on the right. Kaido and Charlotte Linlin also turned their heads to look to the side, and then saw a scene that shocked them very much. Because of the red hair at this time, he was actually crushed and beaten by celestial dragons. They also quickly restrained their shocked expressions, and then looked at Monk with gloomy expressions. Since the method mentioned just now cannot be realized, the two of them can only fight to the death with Monk. Just when Charlotte Linlin was thinking this way, Kaido also spoke softly to Charlotte Linlin. Advertisement. It seems that we can only use our subordinates as cannon fodder to weaken Monk's strength. Charlotte Linlin also pondered for a moment after hearing Kaido's words, and then she could only nod heavily. Then the two backed away a few steps. After Monk saw the actions of these two people, he also felt very puzzled. But after seeing those pirates under the command of four emperors, all dispatched, he also understood what Charlotte Linlin and Kaido were thinking. If before, Monk was very tired of Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others. So at this time, he looked down on the two of them a little bit. At this moment, he was also taunting Kaido and Charlotte Linlin. You two guys are really cold-blooded. Being your subordinate is really bad luck for 8 lifetimes. Quote. After this sentence was finished, Monk stopped talking anymore. At this time, he appeared in the encirclement of the pirates with a flash of his figure. Advertisement. I saw that on his right hand, he was also holding a long knife, and then he swung fiercely, and several pirates died under the knife. And the rest of the pirates flocked to Monk one after another. At this moment, Monk also swung his knife forward, and then roared loudly. Frenzied storm slash. Quote. With this cry, there is also a whirlwind ahead. This whirlwind is red, and when it is close to the whirlwind, it can feel extremely hot. And this whirlwind, also under the control of Monk's hand, swept away towards the surroundings. All the pirates who were kidnapped into the whirlwind were burned to ashes. After Monk, Li Hao, wiped out some pirates, he turned his head to look at the celestial dragons. After finding that the celestial dragons still had the upper hand, they nodded in satisfaction. Afterwards, he continued to charge, waiting for Monk to kill the last pirate in front of him. He also felt vigilantly that there was a bad wind behind him. Afterwards, Meng hurriedly bent down and avoided the long knife. Then Monk also turned over, slashing on the handle with a long knife in his hand. Advertisement. Chapter 395 Strong and Suffocating. Advertisement. The hilt of the knife hummed when it was cut, but the big hand holding the hilt was not affected at all. Monk also took advantage of this opportunity, quickly got up, raised the knife in his hand, and killed the last pirate. Then he said coldly to Kaido and Charlotte Linlin. Now all of your subordinates have been slaughtered, now it's up to you to fight me. Don't worry, I will definitely not keep my hands, and I will definitely wipe out all of you when the time comes. Quote. Kaido and Charlotte Linlin didn't refute what Monk said. In their view, winning is the most important thing, and the ability to speak out is useless at all. With this in mind, the two of them also frowned at 013 and kept their mouths closed. Use the weapons to cut towards the monk together. Monk is also applying the power of Devil Fruit to ultimate at this moment. The Devil Fruit on its body also circulates throughout the whole body. Then Monk also turned into a green dragon. Then he quickly ran out of the whole person and came behind Kaido in a flash. Advertisement. Then, with fingers and claws, he touched Kaido's heart, trying to take out the other's heart. But at this moment, Kaido also used the power of his Devil Fruit. Just listen to his body covered with a layer of extremely thick scales. After this layer of scales emerged, it also blocked the monk's attack. Monk also saw that he missed a hit, so he retreated quickly. Because Charlotte Linlin's attack also came from shopping. If Monk doesn't hide, he will probably be cut in half. At this moment, Charlotte Linlin also used Devil Fruit's power zone. I saw a few clouds that she made with her soul, also emerged. Even the long knife in her hand began to sneer. Monk knew he had to use all his strength, because the two guys in front of him were serious. At this moment, Monk also raised the long knife, and then wiped the blade lightly with his fingers. At this moment, the long knife began to hot and hot BACG up. Advertisement. Monk also shouted loudly at this moment, and two strange long horns grew on the top of his head. Layers of blue scales also appeared on its body. On his left hand, a giant claw made of ice appeared, and his right hand also began to twist and change continuously. This is the power of rubber fruit, and Monk also combines the power of these several devil fruits. At this time, Kaido and Charlotte Linlin also looked at Monk seriously. If you don't need to fight Monk with all your strength according to the normal situation, the two of them really can't beat Monk. But it was still possible to deal with it for a while, but at this time everyone had already used their full strength. In the past, the two of them also thought that no matter how strong Monk was, he would not be so strong. If the two of them use all their strength, Monk will definitely be executed. But who would have thought that after Monk exerted all his strength, the two of them felt that their lives were in danger. Seeing the huge power that Monk radiated, the two people were also extremely shocked. How could a young person like Monk cultivate like this in such a short period of time? Could it be that this guy got some powerful energy and treasures? Advertisement. Chapter 396 Strong and Suffocating. Advertisement. If not, why is it so strong, even so strong that it is suffocating? Monk also shook his head helplessly when he saw Charlotte Linlin and Kaido, who fell into deep thought when they disagreed with each other. Then he spoke to the two of them. Are you two still fighting or not? Why are you in a daze there? Quote. After this sentence was finished, Monk also watched seriously, while Charlotte Linlin and Kaido waited for their answers. Kaido and Charlotte Linlin also snorted coldly after hearing Monk's words. I only heard that Kaido also spoke to Monk. Who said we were in a daze? The two of us were just thinking about dealing with you. He didn't dare to tell himself that he was a little flustered because of Monk's strength. In that case, not only would he not be able to get Monk's forgiveness, but he might also get ridiculed by Monk. That's not what they want to see. After hearing Kaido's words, Monk nodded slightly. Then he spoke forcefully to Kaido and Charlotte Linlin. Since the two of you have been in a daze for a while, don't be in a daze anymore. Let's keep fighting. Quote. After Monk said this, he wanted to rush forward. Advertisement. But at this moment, Charlotte Linlin hastily stretched out her hand and said to Monk. You stop for a moment. Monk was taken aback when he heard the words, and then stopped. He looked at Charlotte Linlin suspiciously. I only heard Charlotte Linlin coughing lightly at this time. Then he said to Monk with an embarrassed face. We are not in good condition today, can we wait until the next time to fight again? You can rest assured that next time we will never be in the same situation as this time. Next time we will definitely adjust our state and come to you. Quote. After hearing what Charlotte Linlin said, Monk also raised his eyebrows. Then he spoke to Charlotte Linlin. Are you playing me for a fool? You guys want to come and destroy my ghost gang, and you want to murder my life. Seeing that my strength has improved at this time, I want to turn around and leave. Don't you think it's too beautiful? Zero looking for flowers. Advertisement. Don't say you begged me for mercy today. Even if you cry for your father and mother and kneel on the ground, I will not spare you. I am very angry in my heart. Only by killing you can I dispel this anger. I won't talk too much with you, please go to your death. Quote. After saying this, Monk rushed forward. When Kaido didn't react, he cut off Kaido's head with one knife. Then Monk also threw Kaido's head at Charlotte Linlin. Charlotte Linlin was also scared out of her wits at this moment, and her whole body trembled and hid back. But she forgot one thing. Although Kaido's head was avoided by her, there was still blood in Kaido's head. So after she dodged, her face was covered with blood. Seeing this, Monk rushed forward quickly. Because in Monk's view, this is an excellent opportunity, and he doesn't want to let it go. Monk's speed is simply too fast. If someone is watching this scene from the side, they will feel a gust of wind blowing. Can't detect Monk's figure. Advertisement. Chapter 397 Long knife pierced into the heart. Advertisement. Monk also dodges quickly at this moment, coming behind Charlotte Linlin. Wanted to send the long knife into the heart of Charlotte Linlin. But the two clouds formed by Charlotte Linlin's soul were also attacking Monk. A cloud launched thunder and lightning, and a cloud spit out flames. Monk could only avoid the attack temporarily. And Charlotte Linlin also wiped off her cold sweat and responded, 410. Monk thought Charlotte Linlin would continue to attack, but unexpectedly she ran away quickly. And this guy stepped on the black cloud and flew to the distance quickly. Monk can walk through the air, but not for a long time. Because this method of walking through the air is too exhausting. Monk has a series of devil fruit powers, so he is also slightly afraid of sea water. If it falls from midair, it will enter the sea water, and its strength will be slightly weakened at that time. And if Charlotte Linlin reacts, then there will definitely be a fierce battle after that. Afraid of trouble, Monk could only watch Charlotte Linlin leave. But at this moment, Monk also smiled instantly. Advertisement. Because he saw the figure of celestial dragons appearing in front of Charlotte Linlin. Charlotte Linlin quickly ran away from Monk to the right. Nor is she ready to let Charlotte Linlin go. Because he couldn't stop Charlotte Linlin before. But this time is different. Because of the help of the celestial dragons, it would be unreasonable to let Charlotte Linlin leave today. I saw that Monk was also standing in front of Charlotte Linlin at this time. He looked at Charlotte Linlin jokingly. Charlotte Linlin also sighed at this moment, as if she had lost all her energy. Then she asked celestial dragons. And the redhead, did he die or escaped? After saying this, he looked at the celestial dragons inquiringly. Celestial dragons also snorted coldly after hearing Charlotte Linlin's inquiry. Then he replied to Charlotte Linlin. You mean that trash with red hair? Advertisement. He has been killed by me, the opponent is too weak, 0. It didn't cost me too much to die at all. From this, it can be deduced that you guys are really too weak. It seems that the title of 4 emperors of you people is all false. Quote. After hearing what celestial dragons said, Charlotte Linlin was also very angry. She didn't allow celestial dragons to insult them, and then he rushed forward desperately. Her few intelligent clouds also began to bombard the celestial dragons indiscriminately. At this time, celestial dragons swung the saber lightly, and then retracted the long saber into its sheath. After Charlotte Linlin saw celestial dragons' actions, she also felt that celestial dragons seemed to be a fool. He actually retracted the long knife again. Just when she laughed at celestial dragons secretly, she also felt a pain in her waist at 4.3. When she looked down, she didn't see her lower body at all. Monk saw the celestial dragons cut Charlotte Linlin in half. After that, I was also very satisfied with the strength of celestial dragons. Afterwards, he also stepped forward, and wiped out all the clouds and the talking long knife of Charlotte Linlin. Advertisement. Chapter 398 Get rid of the waste. Advertisement. Then he spoke to celestial dragons. Since all these wastes have been dealt with by us, there is no need for us to stay here any longer. I'll get out of here next. After saying this, he also patted celestial dragons on the shoulder. Celestial dragons nodded heavily after hearing Monk's words. Afterwards, they followed behind Monk, step by step, and rushed towards the outside. The reason why they didn't return to the base of the Ghost Gate gang was because they still had a series of things to do next. After the two of them had traveled for a while, they also came to the base of the 4 emperors. After coming here, I also saw the remaining 10 pirates. Monk snorted coldly after seeing these pirates, and then asked celestial dragons. Are you responsible for this bunch of trash, or am I? Celestial dragons did not speak at this time, but he expressed his thoughts with actions. He also rushed forward at this time before. The few remaining pirates rushed towards the celestial dragons, shouting. Advertisement. To them, the celestial dragons are nothing more than a puny B asterisk 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 D. But unexpectedly, the celestial dragons turned out to be fierce tigers. After several attacks by the celestial dragons, the pirates also fell to the ground one by one, unable to get up again. Monk saw the celestial dragons 3 times, 5 times and 2 times, and killed those pirates. After that, he walked forward slowly. After he came to celestial dragons, he also spoke to celestial dragons. Although this place has already been occupied by me. Then in the future, you will send those strong men of the Ghost Gate gang to come here to establish a branch of the Ghost Gate gang. At that time, the sphere of influence I want to join the Ghost Gate gang will be all over the world. After that, you will be in full charge of this ghost gang. Quote. After saying this, Monk smiled slightly at the celestial dragons. Afterwards, he explained some things to celestial dragons, then turned and left. Celestial dragons sighed helplessly after watching Monk leave. Then he secretly thought in his heart that this guy Monk is really a hands-off shopkeeper. Advertisement. Should have continued to deal with this matter here, but this guy threw the matter away and left. This is really frustrating. After thinking for a while, Celestial Dragons also returned to the base of the Ghost Gate Gang. Talked about what Monk explained to those strong members of the Ghost Gate Gang. Let them send some people to take over the Four Emperors base. In the following period of time, Celestial Dragons was also very busy. Because whether it is the base of the Ghost Gate Gang or the base of the Four Emperors, 007 needs to be repaired. Before that, the Four Emperors base was attacked by Monk. They didn't have a good repair on their side, so they came to attack Monk. As for the base of the Ghost Gate Gang, because this time the Four Emperors led the pirates to come to make trouble. So many places have been destroyed. However, Monk, who is the hands-off shopkeeper, is living a very comfortable life. After returning to the underwater world, he explained to the warden the specific matters that the underwater world will develop next. So I left here to go to the more desirable New World. In New World, there are strong people like clouds, and there are still some fledgling youngsters wandering on the sea. Advertisement. Chapter 399 Making a Scene New World. Advertisement. Monk also wants to make a fuss in this new world. Anyway, there is nothing going on recently. 3 of the 4 emperors have been destroyed, and the remaining Whitebeard is still in the underwater world. And the leader of the world government is also now, hiding in the world government and not daring to show his head. So Monk can take a break and enjoy a quiet life. It's okay for Monk to act again when there is something else to do. And when Monk was resting in New World, a very floating figure appeared not far from the base of the Ghost Gate Gang. This figure seems to be illusory, and it will dissipate when the wind blows. Just listening to this phantom, he also spoke at this time. I didn't expect that there are so many powerful souls here, it's really fascinating. After saying this sentence, the soul messenger suddenly sniffed with his nose, and then showed an intoxicated expression. Then he stepped forward, opened his mouth and began to absorb the soul breath that spread in midair. After he was almost done sucking, he was also ready to turn around and leave. But at this time, the souls of Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others also came behind the soul messenger. The soul envoy couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Advertisement. Then he turned his head and looked at the souls behind him who still had wisdom. He has been wandering for so long, and he has never seen a soul that can have wisdom. This person who is still in the world, as long as he dies, he will become a soul without wisdom. Slowly their power will dissipate and become extremely easy to absorb energy. But the 3 guys in front of them are obviously able to talk. Looking at their smart eyes, you can tell that these 3 people are definitely intelligent. Then the soul messenger also asked the 3 people in front of him. What's your situation? Why haven't you lost your sanity? After hearing the words of the soul messenger, Charlotte Linlin hurriedly replied to the soul messenger. In this case, we don't know. Because we only die once, too. But seeing how strong you are, you must be able to save us. Can you do us a favor and bring us back to life? As long as we are alive, we will be grateful to you. We will definitely give you what you want, and we will never refuse. Quote. Advertisement. The guy next to him and the red-haired 2 also hurriedly said good things. The soul envoy heard these people complimenting him constantly. He also felt very pleased. Afterwards, he also nodded slightly and spoke to the few people in front of him. God has the virtue of good life. Today I am also in a good mood, and my heart is kind, so I am ready to help you. But don't get your hopes up too much. This dead man is too heaven-defying. Wanting to bring you back to life is really consuming too much energy. It is very likely that an accident will happen during my Zhao's resurrection of you, and you will also be scattered. Are you still willing to try? After finishing these words, he also waited for the answers from several people. Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others also looked at each other, and they didn't know how to choose. But at this moment, the red-haired voice reached the ears of several people. It's already dead and has become a soul state, why are you still hesitating there? Advertisement. Chapter 400. Flying Soul. Advertisement. It doesn't matter even if the soul flies away. After saying this, he also looked at the soul messenger. Then he spoke forcefully to the soul messenger. No matter what, I'm willing to give it a try, even if I lose my soul. After hearing what the red hair said, the soul envoy nodded slightly. Then he pinched his finger at this moment, and a group of golden energy zones appeared on the stone. After its formation, it was also gently sent into the red-haired brow. After the red hair came into contact with this layer of energy, his illusory body also became much more solid. Slowly, bones appeared on his body. The meridians and skin attached to the white bones also began to grow slowly. In a short time, the red-haired 090 came alive again. And Charlotte Linlin, who watched this scene from the side, also hurriedly begged the spirit messenger to resurrect them. But the soul messenger said that this method can only be used once a day. If you use too much, it will also consume a lot of money, so today he is no longer going to use it. If you want to be resurrected, wait another 2 days. Advertisement. Anyway, in the recent period of time, he has to absorb the power of the soul around here. After hearing the words of the soul messenger, Charlotte Linlin and Kaido breathed a sigh of relief. Baj. Then the 3 ghosts also started chatting. The topic also slowly drifted away, and then it came to Monk. At this time, the soul messenger also frowned and asked. Are you sure Monk is a heinous person? But why can't I know? Logically speaking, I am in charge of the soul, so I should know the character of Monk. But why don't you know? After finishing these words, he also frowned and fell into deep thought. Charlotte Linlin also turned to the side at this time and gave an extra wink. Kaido also instantly understood what Charlotte Linlin meant, and then the two of them waited for the soul messenger. When I stopped thinking about this matter, I started to add fuel and vinegar to speak ill of Monk. And also said that the reason why they don't know Monk's character is because Monk is too good at pretending. That's why Monk hides so well. Advertisement. The soul messenger didn't have much scheming either. He was also slowly being fooled while chatting with Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others. Started hating Monk with Charlotte Linlin et al. Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others were also very happy to see this situation. They also didn't expect to have such shit luck. Not only can the soul messenger help them resurrect, but also the soul messenger can go out with them against Monk. This is tantamount to sending a pillow when you are sleepy, even if the pillow is for two people. This made Charlotte Linlin and others very excited. In this way, on the second day, the soul messenger also resurrected Charlotte Linlin. Only Kaido was left to bring all three back to life. By the end of the night, several people were still chatting together. I only heard that the soul messenger also spoke at this time. What are you going to do when you are resurrected? To get revenge on Monk? Or is it about finding a place to live in seclusion without having to bother Monk? Advertisement. Chapter 401 Waiting for an answer. Advertisement. After finishing these words, he also looked at Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others inquiringly, waiting for their answers. After hearing the inquiry from the soul messenger, the red hair also thought for a while. Then he spoke forcefully to the soul messenger. Since the guy Monk did that kind of harm to us earlier, then it is impossible for us to resolve our grievances with him. Even if we know we are invincible, we will attack it. At that time, even if you fight to the death, you will have to make a move. Quote. After saying this, he also snorted coldly. When Kaido and Charlotte Linlin heard the redhead's words, they nodded heavily. After seeing the expressions of the three people in front of him, the soul messenger also understood what was going on. Then he said to the three of them, looking at your previous miserable situation, I can also know that Monk must be much stronger than you. Even though you are resurrected now, your strength has not been improved. Advertisement. If he fought the Monk so hastily, he might die again. At that time, I won't save you anymore. Quote. After hearing the words of the soul messenger, Charlotte Linlin also felt that the soul messenger meant something. Then she hurriedly asked the soul messenger for advice. In that case, can you give me some advice and help us? After saying this, she also looked at the soul messenger with burning eyes, waiting for the soul messenger's answer. After hearing Charlotte Linlin's question, the soul messenger also smiled mysteriously. Then he spoke forcefully to Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others. If you want my help, you must pay me. If not, I wouldn't be rushing to help you. Then even if Monk is an extremely evil person, I won't interfere too much. Quote. After saying this sentence, he also smiled slightly. Afterwards, they also waited for the replies from the three people in front of them. From the soul messenger's point of view, the three people in front of them shouldn't be too stupid. If someone is too stupid, he will definitely not improve such a powerful strength. Advertisement. 0 for flowers. So he also waited for a few people to bring out the good things. In that case, even if he took a lot of effort, he would help them deal with Monk together. Charlotte Linlin's eyes lit up suddenly after hearing what the soul messenger said. Afterwards, she spoke forcefully to the soul messenger. Don't worry, as long as you are willing to help us in the future. Then we will teach you whatever good things we have here. Quote. After saying this, they also patted the redhead and Kaido. After receiving Charlotte Linlin's signal, they also hurriedly asked the soul messenger together. The soul envoy also nodded in satisfaction at this time, and then spoke to the few people in front of him. Since you are so sincere, then I am going to help you in the future. But here you are absolutely not safe. Quote. After hearing what the soul messenger said, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and the others nodded heavily. It's really not safe here, because Monk has already occupied this place. Advertisement. Chapter 402. A foothold. Advertisement. If they guessed correctly, their 4 emperors' base must have been occupied by Monk. There is no longer a place for them here. Thinking of this, the 3 of them also frowned, feeling very helpless. The soul messenger also smiled slightly at this moment, and then spoke. I have a nice place here, I don't know if you guys would like to go there. The words of the soul messenger, 283, also made Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others raise their heads instantly. Then they also urged the soul messenger to say something. At this time, the soul messenger also pretended to be mysterious and spoke forcefully to several people. This place is New World, there are a lot of treasures and energy in New World, and there are even many strong people. When you go there, you will definitely be able to recruit many strong people to serve you. It can even restore its strength to its original state, and even become stronger. Quote. After hearing the words of the soul messenger, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others also thanked the soul messenger. The soul messenger also stood up slowly at this time, and then spoke to several people. Advertisement. You don't have to thank me anymore, I have nothing more to say. Send Buddha to the west, you all stand up, I am going to take you to the New World. Quote. After hearing what the soul messenger said, Charlotte Linlin, the red hair and the others stood up quickly. He looked at the soul messenger with a serious face. At this moment, the soul envoy just snapped his fingers lightly, and a void channel appeared. Then he walked into it slowly. Charlotte Linlin, the red hair and the others also looked at each other and followed them boldly. When they appeared again, they also came to New World. The Soul Messenger also spoke to several people at this time. Okay, I have sent you here, what to do next, you can think about it yourself. I went to find Monk. After I kill Monk, you must keep your promise. Give me all the treasures you have obtained. After these words were finished, his figure also dissipated into the air. Advertisement. Didn't give Charlotte Linlin and the redheads a chance to answer at all. 0. After several people watched the Soul Messenger leave, they also began to look around. I only heard that Kaido also spoke at this time. Where are we going next, everyone? After hearing Kaido's inquiry, Charlotte Linlin also looked towards the island ahead, and then spoke. We are not familiar with the place here, so let's find a place nearby to rest. There it is. Quote. After saying this, Charlotte Linlin also pointed straight ahead. After hearing what Charlotte Linlin said, Kaido and the red-haired duo nodded heavily. Afterwards, the two also followed behind and moved forward together. 2.6. Soon, they also came to the island. After arriving here, the three also relied on their strength to build several wooden houses here with broken trees. After that, he lived here. And Monk kept wandering in the New World, and he also saw many strange things in the past few days. Advertisement. Chapter 403. The Kung Fu Manatee. Advertisement. There are some manatees that can do martial arts, and seeds that can be used as bombs. Even some shells can be used to different effects. This also makes Monk feel very interesting. But even if it is interesting to watch a lot, it will get boring. Monk also began to visit different places. On this day, he also saw the somewhat illusory guy in front of him. Afterwards, Monk was also not ready to deal with them. Because Monk can see from the eyebrows of the other party that the other party is not a good person to get along with. There is a gloomy expression between the eyebrows of this person, and his nose is still aquiline. Such a face is extremely difficult to get along with. So Monk was about to leave, but the Phantom 10 guy was right behind him. Soon came to Monk. Monk also frowned upon seeing this. Then he said to the Soul Messenger in a cold voice. Who are you? Why follow me? Quote. Advertisement. After saying this, Monk also felt extremely irritable. Here, a person who is unfamiliar with the place suddenly appears in the way, and no one will feel comfortable when they meet. After hearing Monk's words, the Soul Messenger also laughed out loud. Then he spoke forcefully to Monk. If you don't change your name when you walk, you don't change your surname when you sit down, I will be called a Soul Messenger. This time I came to you because I was going to settle a deal with you. Quote. After hearing such words from the lunatic in front of him, Monk also said to the Soul Messenger in a cold voice. What are you crazy about? Tell me, what do I owe you again? After saying this, Monk also looked at the Soul Messenger indifferently. Monk is also preconceived that the Soul Messenger is a lunatic. I have never met him at all. But this guy has been clamoring to settle accounts with himself. This is not a madman. Who is a madman? The Soul Messenger also spoke harshly to Monk after hearing Monk call him a lunatic. I know you must be very curious as to why I suddenly appeared here. Advertisement. To tell you the truth, I also met Charlotte Linlin et al. Quote. After hearing the words of the Soul Messenger, Monk frowned instantly. He had already killed Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others before. Why did the Soul Messenger in front of him still say that he saw Kaido, Charlotte Linlin and others? This made Monk puzzled. Then he asked the Soul Messenger. What's going on? Isn't that guy already killed by me? After finishing these words, he waited for the Soul Messenger's answer. At this time, the Soul Messenger also smiled unfathomably. Then he replied to Monk. Before, you had indeed killed Kaido, Charlotte Linlin and others. However, I went to help them resurrect, and now they can move freely again. So, you don't have to be so shocked, and I came this time to shoot you at their entrustment. Quote. After saying this, they also smiled coldly at Monk. After hearing the words of the Soul Messenger, Monk frowned instantly. When the guy in front of him said such words, it also showed that the other party wanted to be his enemy. Advertisement. Chapter 404 Too much fighting. Advertisement. Just now, Monk also thought that there was no need to fight with him. No matter how rampant this guy is, he can spare him. But this guy said he wanted to help Kaido and Charlotte Linlin and others. Then he can't keep his hands on it. Next, Monk is also going to kill the guy in front of him. In order to deter the revived Charlotte Linlin et al. After making up his mind, Monk rushed forward without saying a word. Seeing this, the Soul Messenger frowned instantly. He didn't expect Monk to be so ignorant of martial arts. Then they rushed to meet Monk's attack. Monk hit 2 punches with 1 punch, and they also hit together hard. Then the two sides also took 3 steps back. Monk frowned when he saw that the Soul Messenger had only reached these 3 steps. Through the pace of the opponent's retreat, it can be seen that the strength of the opponent is similar to that of our own. So Monk also felt that the next step was a bit tricky. It is too difficult to continue to fight with it. Advertisement. If you don't fight with him, this guy will continue to be rampant. And then it's going to end up having this guy work with Charlotte Linlin et al. I will still face the siege of these people. Thinking of this, Monk gritted his teeth and became cruel, and rushed forward again. The long knife in his hand was out of its sheath, and he quickly cut forward and drew out the knife. Seeing this, the Soul Messenger hurriedly evaded. He was able to fight with Monk, but he couldn't use his fist to deal with the blade. If he really did that, then he is undoubtedly a fool. Monk also snorted coldly when he saw the retreating soul messenger. After that, they continued to chase after the victory, and the two of them also shifted hundreds of miles between chasing and chasing. The soul messenger also began to cry secretly. If he had known this was the case, he would have left with a weapon. Instead of fighting Monk physically. Although his body sometimes hollows out, it is still solid. There is no way to dodge Monk's attack by false chance. Monk also saw the weakness of the soul messenger, and he kept chasing and hacking the soul messenger. It is bound to kill the soul messenger. Advertisement. The soul messenger also kept fleeing towards the distance. Chasing and chasing Monk felt something was wrong. Because the soul messenger seems to have a purpose. He actually kept rushing forward. This made Monk start to become suspicious too. Then Monk also stopped in his tracks. But the soul messenger didn't stop, he was still running forward. Seeing this, Monk frowned again. Then he caught up with the soul messenger and chopped it off with a single blow. He wanted to chop off the soul messenger's head. But the soul envoy had already obtained the weapon he had prepared. I saw that he also took out that weapon at this time. Leela resisted Monk's attack. Monk also frowned after seeing the opponent take out the weapon. In his heart, he also cursed the cunning of the soul messenger. No wonder the soul envoy's evasion and escape just now were all purposeful. Then Monk took a few steps back, clenched his weapon tightly, and looked at the soul messenger with a fierce look. The soul messenger also raised the spear at this moment, and then pointed the spear point at Monk. Advertisement. Chapter 405 Unfair Choice. Advertisement. Then he said to Monk coldly. It was really unfair just now. You have weapons on your side, but I have no weapons. Now that I have the weapon in my hands, we are fair. Then you don't want to hide anymore. If you escape at this time, I will look down on you. After saying this, he also stared at Monk viciously. Monk also snorted coldly after hearing the words of the soul messenger. Then he said coldly to the soul messenger. Number 567 with you is a waste, do you think you can do me any harm? The reason why I stepped back was to take a look at the effect of the spear weapon in your hand. When I find out, I will definitely kill you. When the time comes, don't complain and complain, let me spare your life. Quote. After saying this, Monk also wiped the blade with his hand. Then he looked coldly at the soul messenger in front of him. Advertisement. The soul envoy also had an arrogant look on his face at this time. In his view, since he has already got the weapon, then there's nothing great about this Monk guy. I can completely destroy it without even breaking a sweat. After thinking of this, he stopped talking and rushed forward, pointing his spear at Monk. Monk also took a few steps back quickly at this moment, slashing upwards with the long knife. The two weapons also collided there at this moment, and then the two of them retreated one after another. Monk also spit out a mouthful of blood suddenly, and the soul messenger didn't feel well either. After taking a few steps back vigorously, he also looked at the tiger's mouth that was already bleeding out. He is also very thankful that he was not so impulsive just now. If he was impulsive, his arm might have been broken just now. So that Monk seized the opportunity to kill him directly. He didn't want to encounter that kind of situation, and then he BAFC also rolled his eyes. Then he spoke to Monk. You and I, let's turn our hostility into friendship. It's not good to continue fighting. Advertisement. There was no conflict between you and me. But if it goes on like this, it's a bit inappropriate. Don't you think so? After saying this, he also smiled slightly, expressing that he was very kind. When Monk heard the words of the soul messenger, he secretly cursed the shamelessness of the soul messenger in his heart. Having gained an advantage just now, he started clamoring non-stop. Now that he finds that his strength is comparable to his own, he begins to admit defeat. How can there be such a beautiful thing? Even if the soul envoy knelt there and begged for mercy today, Monk would not let him go. I only heard Monk coldly speaking to the soul messenger in front of him at this time. Today our ties have been settled, so don't waste your time talking with me. I must kill you. Quote. After saying this, he also rushed forward. Then he snorted coldly at the guy in front, and began to want to kill him. After hearing what the other party said, the soul messenger also sighed helplessly. He also knew that the other party had made up his mind to fight with him to the death. Then he also sighed, and then slowly walked forward and stared at the other party with a serious face. Advertisement. Chapter 406 Look down on the soul messenger. Advertisement. He has already made up his mind now that he must not die here. Seeing that the soul messenger no longer begged for mercy, Monk nodded in satisfaction. Although Monk despises the soul messenger, Monk even more despises the beggar. Comparing the two, the soul messenger is still stronger. At this time, Monk and the soul messenger were also confronting each other there, and no one acted first. They are all waiting for the opponent to make a move first, and then adapt to the situation themselves. The soul messenger can't wait any longer. I saw that he was also holding a long spear at this time, and quickly swept towards the front. Monk also raised his long knife and prepared to deal with it. When the two weapons collided together, there was also a clanging sound. Afterwards, the two also retreated extremely. Monk also didn't expect that the soul messenger had some strength. It seems that I have to work harder to kill it. Otherwise, the soul messenger will definitely become a serious problem on his side after this. Then Monk also attached all his strength to the long knife. Then his figure flashed quickly, and he came behind the Soul Messenger. Advertisement. The Soul Messenger also froze in place immediately. He didn't expect that Monk's speed was so fast. Afterwards, he also hastily raised his spear and poked it behind him. Want to block Monk's attack. Monk also smiled coldly when he saw this, and the long knife easily bypassed the blocking of the long spear. Then he opened the Soul Messenger's abdomen with a knife. There was also a penetrating wound on the Soul Messenger immediately. The Soul Messenger also walked forward dozens of steps quickly while clutching his abdomen. Then he turned his head and looked at Monk viciously. Monk also said coldly to the Soul Messenger at this time. You guys help the 4 emperors for no reason, then I have to kill you. If not, it will fuel your arrogance. Quote. After saying this, Monk rushed forward again, wanting to beat the dog in the water. After hearing Monk's words, the Soul Messenger laughed arrogantly. Then he turned around to avoid Monk's blow, and then quickly jumped up. Monk didn't pay much attention either. Advertisement. Because in Monk's view, the Soul Messenger has also been seriously injured. 0 for flowers. I only need to pay a little attention to kill the Soul Messenger. But who would have imagined that the Soul Messenger escaped from here through a space channel? Monk also started to blame himself immediately. If you are more vigilant on your side, you will definitely not let the Soul Messenger escape. Thinking of this, he also let out a long sigh. Then he turned helplessly and walked towards the distance. His primary goal now is to find a place to live in New World so that he can live here. If not, let alone confronting the Soul Messenger and the 4 emperors. As for whether it can continue to survive in New World, it is still a matter of opinion. With this in mind, Monk started looking for a place to live. And the Soul Messenger also walked out of the space channel slowly. When he just stepped out of the space passage and walked forward, his body suddenly went limp and fell to the ground. Seeing this, the 4 emperors at the side hurried forward. I only heard that Kaido also asked the Soul Messenger at this time. Advertisement. Chapter 407. Advertisement. Soul Messenger, what's wrong with you? Why did you get such a serious injury after only leaving for such a short time? Charlotte Linlin and the red-haired duo were also very puzzled. People as powerful as Soul Messengers are rarely found in the New World. Even if there is that kind of powerful person fighting the Soul Messenger, he will not beat the Soul Messenger so badly so quickly. The Soul Messenger also raised his head slowly, chi, seeing the curiosity of the 3 of them. Then he said helplessly to the 3 of them. Since the 3 of you are curious, let me tell you something. After the Soul Messenger finished speaking, he also let out a long sigh. After hearing the words of the Soul Messenger, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others. He also hurriedly pricked up his ears, wanting to hear what was going on. I only heard the Soul Messenger speaking forcefully to the 3 of them at this time. When I went out, I also saw the heinous monk you mentioned. And also competed with him. Quote. Advertisement. After hearing the words of the Soul Messenger, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others couldn't help but shrink their pupils. They were afraid that Monk would speak ill of the 3 of them in front of the Soul Messenger. But after thinking about it again, I realized that I don't need to worry about it. Now that Monk has labeled the Soul Messenger like this, there is no need to consider those issues. Afterwards, the 3 of them also began to listen carefully to the message of the Soul Messenger. Just listen to the Soul Messenger said helplessly at this time. After competing with him, I also discovered that this person's strength is extraordinary. It's unbelievable that he was able to hurt me like this. Before, I thought you 3 were exaggerating. Unexpectedly, Monk really has such a powerful strength, it seems that we have to work harder to cultivate. Try not to be suppressed by Monk in the future. Quote. After saying this, the Soul Messenger also looked at Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others with burning eyes. After hearing the words of the Soul Messenger, Charlotte Linlin and Kaido nodded again and again. Afterwards, they also began to urge the Soul Messenger to make a training plan for them. Advertisement. After hearing the urging of several people, the Soul Messenger also felt very helpless. Afterwards, he stabilized the injury first, and then formulated a training plan for Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others. Then let them practice on their own. And he himself found a hidden place, to recover from his injuries. He has now made Monk his life and death enemy. As long as he lives, Monk must die. And Kaido and Charlotte Linlin are also extremely happy. Because in their view, they will be able to relax a little bit next. It was supposed to be the 3 of them fighting Monk. In the next 0.9, there will be another powerful ally. And this ally seems to hate Monk even more than they do. This made Charlotte Linlin and Kaido overjoyed. Afterwards, they also quickly calmed down and began to practice according to the cultivation plan formulated by the Soul Messenger. A month passed by slowly, and Monk didn't go to find Charlotte Linlin, the Soul Messenger and others. Advertisement. Chapter 408. Take the initiative to send it to your door. Advertisement. Because in Monk's view, these people don't have to find it themselves. They will be like annoying flies, and they will come to them on their own initiative. So Monk is also waiting for them to take the initiative to deliver it to their door. Then Monk can kill them all. After more than a month of practice, the strength of Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others has also been greatly improved. And the wound on the Soul Messenger's side has also recovered. Afterwards, the Soul Envoy also came out of the closed place, and then found Charlotte Linlin and others. Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others also got up slowly, and looked at the Soul Messenger suspiciously. I want to hear the purpose of the Soul Messenger. At this time, the Soul 10 envoy also considered his words, and then spoke forcefully to several people. My idea is for you to follow me to find Monk. Then go take on the Monk. I believe that you must be very willing to act together with me. Quote. After finishing these words, the Soul Messenger also smiled slightly at the few people. Advertisement. After hearing the words of the Soul Messenger, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others also looked at me, and I looked at you. Afterwards, several people also happily made a decision to act together with the Soul Messenger. At that time, with everyone working together, Monk will definitely be killed. In this way, several people also started to act. In the new world, the news network of the Soul Messenger is very wide. So, after a little investigation, he noticed Monk's movements. Then accurately find the location where Monk is currently living. Then they hurried to the island where Monk lived with Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others. After arriving here, the Soul Messenger also spoke to Charlotte Linlin and Kaido with a serious face. Next, we have to face the extraordinary Monk. So, everyone, don't underestimate the enemy. If Monk sees the opportunity because we underestimated the enemy, then our visit this time will be in vain. And most likely risking their lives. Quote. After hearing what the Soul Messenger said, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and the others nodded heavily. Advertisement. They have fought Monk several times, so they know the horror of Monk. Compared with Soul Messengers, they know what to do better. After that, the few people also nodded perfunctorily towards the Soul Messenger. Then the three of them also walked forward. The Soul Envoy was also slightly taken aback when he saw a few people walking forward proactively. Then he sighed helplessly, thinking secretly in his heart. Anyway, what I should say has already been told to you. 583. If you still look at Monk with the eyes of the past, the consequences will definitely be disastrous. At that time, I will definitely not help you. After making up his mind, he also took a step forward, following Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others. When Monk was staying in the wooden house he built, he frowned instantly. Then he also got off the bed and walked out of the wooden house slowly. Then he looked warily at the four figures in front of him. Although Monk doesn't know who these four people are. But Monk was able to perceive that all four of them were strong through the aura of several people. Advertisement. Chapter 409. Advertisement. And they are all bad comers. After Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others approached Monk slowly, Monk also breathed a sigh of relief. If other people came here and had ill intentions towards him, then Monk must be more serious. But for Charlotte Linlin and the Soul Messenger, he doesn't need any preparation at all. These people are old opponents. So, Monk knows their weaknesses. Monk knew exactly how to deal with them. So, he can breathe a sigh of relief. The Soul Messenger, Charlotte Linlin and others saw that Monk showed a relaxed state at this time. This made everyone feel a great shame and humiliation, and they were secretly thinking about it. Are we not strong? It's really disgusting that you guys don't pay attention to us like this. Just like that, because of Monk's expression, these four people also made up their minds to crush Monk. I only heard Monk speaking coldly to the Soul Messenger at this time. The defeated general of yours was like a defeated dog before, jumping away in embarrassment. Advertisement. How dare you come to me now? Could it be the courage these three guys in front of you gave you? After hearing Monk's words, the Soul Messenger also snorted coldly. Then he opened his mouth to retort. You be asterisk 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 D, don't be so arrogant. The last time I failed, it was simply because I wasn't ready. And I don't know your details, so I was hurt. But this time, don't worry, I will never lose so easily. This time, I was well prepared and learned about your weaknesses from Charlotte Linlin and the others. So I can easily kill you. Quote. Even if I can't kill you alone, Charlotte Linlin and the others will help. Today you will surely die. Quote. Charlotte Linlin also chimed in at this time. The Soul Messenger is right, this time you are doomed to die. We have made sufficient preparations and the group came here. So don't take chances. If you surrender now, we can save you from pain and death. Advertisement. Instead of being tortured by the kind of cramping, bone rubbing, and ashes. Quote. After this sentence was finished, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others also burst out laughing. The Soul Envoy was also a little reserved, and didn't laugh out loud. Zhangxi pursed his lips and smiled. Monk also shook his head helplessly after hearing the words of the people in front of him. Then he said to several people in a cold voice. Quote. Backquote, you four guys are really stupid. Just after a month of hard work, do you think you can beat me? A month ago, I beat you so badly that I couldn't even pay you back. How dare to be so rampant at this time, I really don't know what it means. Okay, no, Wang Zhao is talking too much with you. It takes a lot of my time to talk to you guys. It's better to kill all of you, so that future troubles can be eliminated forever. After saying this, Monk rushed forward. His first goal is the Soul Messenger. The Soul Messenger also didn't expect that Monk would take him as the first target. I also secretly thought about flying in my heart. Could it be that my strength is relatively weak? Advertisement. Chapter 410 The Soul Messenger misunderstood. Advertisement. So that you treat me like this. No, I must make you pay a painful price. In fact, the Soul Messenger has misunderstood, Monk is entirely because of the strength of the Soul Messenger. That's why the Soul Messenger was found first. From Monk's point of view, the Soul Messenger is a bit powerful. It was very difficult to defeat it last time, but this time it must be defeated quickly. At that time, the rest of Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others will be easy to deal with. The two also held different ideas and fought with each other. The long knife in Monk's hand was cut out one after another, and armament Haki was also attached to the long knife. He chopped down the weapons in front of him one after another. The Soul Messenger was also shocked. He didn't expect that it was only a month of effort, and he was just recovering from his injuries. Monk's strength has improved so much. Then he hurriedly spoke loudly to Charlotte Linlin, the red hair and the others. Advertisement. What are you doing standing there? Are you watching a play? If I die, you will have no good fruit to eat. After hearing the words of the Soul Messenger, Charlotte Linlin, the red hair and others hurried forward to support. Afterwards, with the joint efforts of the four, Monk was also unable to retreat. Although Monk was the one who was knocked back, he didn't look embarrassed at all. The whole person landed lightly, and then looked at the four people in front of him with a half smile. Seeing this scene, Charlotte Linlin and the Soul Messenger were also extremely angry. And Kaido and the red hair also took a step back quietly. In the eyes of the two of them, this time may also fail. But Charlotte Linlin and the two Soul Messengers have been dazzled by anger. From their point of view, even if the gods stand in front of them, they have to fight each other, and they cannot just admit defeat. Then the two rushed forward again, and the machetes and spears of the TV University also chopped at Meng one after another. Monk also knocked, and the two huge weapons bounced back. Kaido and the red-haired duo also took advantage of this opportunity to appear on both sides of Monk's body. Advertisement. Then the two of them used their weapons to slash at Monk, and they were bound to cut Monk in half. But Monk had an idea, and he jumped up extremely fast, as if his body had turned into a spring, jumping to an extremely high height. The weapons of Kaido and the red-haired duo also collided. Then Hongfa and Kaido also took 2 steps back. Then he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The condition of the two at this time was caused by internal injuries. They also didn't expect that they would suffer a big loss at the hands of their own people without meeting Monk. This made the two of them a little desperate. Afterwards, the two also looked at each other, both able to understand each other's thoughts. Then the two of them retreated to the rear of the battlefield. The Soul Messenger also frowned at this time, and asked Kaido and the red-haired two. What are you two doing? Why don't you come forward? Don't you two want to be deserters? Kaido and the red-haired two also spread their hands after hearing the question from the Soul Messenger. I only heard that Kaido said helplessly to the Soul Messenger at this time. Advertisement.